Let me recite the Quran one more time, then allow people to recite. Can I go ahead?
Please go ahead, Ya Sheikh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون. Now we'll be entertaining reciters from across. So anyone who is ready to recite can signify. Bismillah.
Okay, we have two people already, three. Brother Bello Abdul, you can unmute to recite, and then Sister Aloba Shakira.
So we have Aloba Shakiro and Bello Razak. So Aloba Shakiro should begin. Then Bello Abdul Razak. Bismillah.
Sister Shakira, you have to unmute yourself. I think we should proceed to the next person.
If Aloba Shakira is not ready, then Bello Razak should recite, please.
Brother Razak Bello, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself and recite. Okay, I think we move on to the next question. Sister Tawaka Bulajide.
Okay, no, Bismillah.
Tawaka Bulajide, please unmute yourself and recite.
Okay, don't talk and be by you. That's good.
Brother Abdulaziz Ali, please, your side is noisy.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now, Sister Tawaka, please go on.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون.
Allahu Akbar. Move on to Brother Abdul Kim Yusuf. Please unmute yourself.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون
Jazakallah khairan. Next question is Brother Sulaiman Olawumi. Brother Sulaiman Olawumi, please. You have the floor.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون
Jazakumullah khairan. Move on to Malam Taufik Sanusi and then Malam Alade Muhammad will follow suit. Malam Taufik Sanusi, unmute yourself and then Malam Alade Muhammad after him.
Hey, you say how we. The Madam Muhammad I my aunt. That's Madam Taufik with them.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون صدق الله العظيم.
Okay, Malam Alade Muhammad. We'll be stopping soon. Just take one more person after that. Madam Alade, please unmute.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان
Madam Alade, please, you have been muted again. Please unmute yourself.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون إن في هذا لبلاغا لقوم عابدين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين قل إنما يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فهل أنتم مسلمون صدق الله العظيم.
الله أكبر. صدق الله العظيم وبلغ رسوله الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين ومن الشاكرين. Inshallah, I'll be moving on straight to Mayasha session. We will not be taking any more.
Mayasha session.
We'll be moving on to Malam Alade, please mute yourself. Moving on to Mayasha session, and to do that is our Ustadh Hakeem. Bismillah, Ustadh.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank Allah for the message today, and we beseech Allah's mercy to be showered upon the best of mankind, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Hadith shall be for us in Arabic explanation in Yoruba language and the translation as well. So if you have the Hadith with us, let us take out and bring out our writing matters. May Allah make it for you. Hadith now. روى الإمام أحمد عن النعمان بن بشير رضي الله عنه قال كنا جلوسا في المسجد فجاء أبو ثعلبة الخشني فقال يا بشير بن سعد أتحفظ حديث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في الأمراء؟ فقال حذيفة أنا أحفظ خطبته. فجلس أبو ثعلبة فقال حذيفة قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تكون النبوة فيكم ما شاء الله ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها نهاج نبوتي فتكون ما شاء الله وأن تكون ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها ثم تكون ملكا عادا فيكون ما شاء الله أن يكون ثم يرفعها إذا شاء الله أن يرفعها ثم تكون ملكا جبريا فتكون ما شاء الله أن تكون ثم يرفعها الله إذا شاء أن يرفعها ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج نبوته ثم سكت. This of Amaya extracted from the book of Imam Ahmad. I'll be reading it and I'll be explaining it in Yoruba language. May Allah make it easy for each and every one of us. Ameen. Rawal Imam Ahmad. One hadisi agbawa láti inú ìwé Imam Ahmad.
Sorry, Ustadh, you may have to
Ibn Bashir. Ó sì wá látẹnu Nu'man ọmọ Bashir. Naam.
You may have to commit. We have some people who do not understand Yoruba, sir.
Lọ́jọ́ kan, Fajá Abu Sa'laba al-Khoshanij, ọkùnrin kan tí a mọ̀ sí Abu Sa'laba, ará Khoshani, ó wá dé. Fakọ́l, ó sọ báyìí pé ya Bashir Sa'd, mo pèrè Bashir ọmọ Sa'd. Atahfazu hadisa Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ǹjẹ́ o mọ̀ hadisi òjíṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run bá ìmá ṣàkóso ìjọba Uzaifa. Uzaifa wa sọ báyìí pé ana àkọ́kọ́bátà mo mọ ọ̀tánàbí sọ lórí ẹ̀ o. Fajalasa Abu Sa'laba wá jókòó láti gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ náà lẹ́nu Uzaifa. Faqala Uzaifa wá pé qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Òjíṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run tí ìkẹ́ àti ọlá Ọlọ́run bẹ fún ó sọ báyìí pé takunu nubuwwatu fiikum ma sha Allahu an takun. Ó ní ìṣàpá ìjẹun náà yóò máa bẹ o ní Ọlọ́run bá fi bẹ pé káwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run máa jẹ́ olórí lé wa lórí. Summa yarfa'uha Allahu iza sha'a an yarfa'aha. Lẹ́yìn náà, Ọlọ́run bá tún wá ká wọn kúrò ńlẹ̀ nígbà tí ó bá fẹ́ láti kó wọn kúrò. Summa takunu khilafatu ala minhaji nubuwwati. Lẹ́yìn náà, ìṣàkóso ìjẹ́ olórí àwọn àrólé yóò tún wá máa bẹ. Táwọn náà sì máa lo ojúpọ̀nà àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run bá tó ṣíwájú láti fi ṣe ètò olórí wọn. Fatakunu ma sha Allah an takun. Eléyìí náà máa bẹ tí dìgbà tọ́lọ́run ni yóò máa fi bẹ. Kí àwọn olórí, àwọn àrólé kí wọ́n máa jẹ́ olórí yóò máa bẹ dìgbà tọ́lọ́run bá ní yóò máa fi bẹ dà. Summa yarfa'uha Allahu iza sha'a an yarfa'aha. Lẹ́yìn náà, Ọlọ́run bá tún ká kúrò ńlẹ̀ nígbà tó bá fẹ́ láti ká kúrò. Summa takunu malikan 'adan. Lẹ́yìn náà, yóò tún máa bẹ lẹ́yìn tí àwọn àrólé bá ti lọ tán, àwọn lọ́balọ́ba àádọ́n tí wọ́n jẹ́ alábòsí olùlé kókó mọ́ni níbi ìṣètò àkóso wọn. Fayakunu ma sha Allah an yakun. Eléyìí náà máa bẹ tí dìgbà tọ́lọ́run ni ó fi máa bẹ dà. Summa yarfa'uha iza sha Allah an yarfa'aha. Lẹ́yìn náà Ọlọ́run á tún ká wọn kúrò ńlẹ̀ nígbà tí ó bá fẹ́ láti ká wọn kúrò. Summa takunu malkan jabariyya. Lẹ́yìn tí àwọn eléyìí bá lọ tán, àwọn lọ́balọ́ba tí wọ́n máa jẹni nípa, tí wọ́n máa jẹ èèyàn nípa láti ṣe tí wọ́n bá fẹ́, tí wọ́n sì nílò ìlànà tọ́lọ́run bá, àwọn là ń pè ní malkan jabariyyan. Àwọn náà tí wọ́n máa ṣe àkóso ilé ayé. fatakunu ma sha Allahu an takun eléyìí náà máa bẹ títí dìgbà tọ́lọ́run bá ní yóò fi bẹ summa yarfa'uha Allahu iza sha'a an yarfa'aha lẹ́yìn náà Ọlọ́run bá tún wá ká wọn kúrò ńlẹ̀ nígbà tí ó bá fẹ́ láti ká wọn kúrò summa takunu khilafatu ala minhaji nubuwwa lẹ́yìn náà ìjẹ́ àrólé yóò tún wá padà wálẹ̀ nǹkan sí lórí ìlànà àwọn ànábì tó ti ṣíwájú náà máa fi darí ilé ayé á wá tò á wá rọgbọ á wá rọrùn fún gbogbo èèyàn summa sakata lẹ́yìn náà ànábì wa dákẹ́ so eléyìí òun náà ni hadith muayasha wa àlàyé ráńpẹ́ lórí ẹ̀ òun ni pé ìjẹ́ olórí táwọn ànábì ó máa darí gbogbo ayé yóò máa bẹ láàrin léyìí tó já sí pé ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ yẹn ti wáyé ó sì ti lọ Ọlọ́run bá gbé àwọn ànábì lóníranran dìde nínú àlàyé àwọn àfáà wọ́n ní kò dín ní 124,000 òjíṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run bá tọ́ Ọlọ́run bá rán so Ọlọ́run wá rán wá sílé ayé láti wá tò ilé ayé láti wá ensure wípé kò sí ìbàjẹ́ ní àyè kankan nílé ayé wíwá sílé ayé àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run láti wá tò ilé ayé ni láti wá fáwọn èèyàn ní ròdùnú nípa iṣẹ́ rere àti àtúbọ̀tán rere àti láti wá kọ́ fáwọn èèyàn nípa iṣẹ́ ibi àti àtúbọ̀tán ibi tí ó máa ṣẹlẹ̀ sẹ́ni tó bá ṣiṣẹ́ ibi àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run wọ́n á ṣàkóso ilé ayé fúngbà tí Ọlọ́run bá fẹ́ kí wọ́n fi wà ń bẹ̀ dà lẹ́yìn náà nígbà tí àwọn ànábì tí àkóso wọn parí sórí ànábì wa Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ló wá kan àwọn àrólé tí wọ́n rólé de àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run tí wọ́n sì ń lo ìlànà àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run láti máa fi ṣàkóso ilé ayé léyìí tí ó lánilóògùn ìjẹ́ khilafa ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ látorí Abubakar Siddiq ó wá parí sí orí Ali ibn Abi Talib àwọn àrólé tí wọ́n darí ayé lẹ́yìn àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run àwọn àfáà ní 4 ni wọ́n wá ṣe lálàyé pé tí wọ́n bá tiẹ̀ máa pé 5 ẹni tí ó jẹ́ ìkarùn wọn òun náà ni Umar bin Abdulaziz nígbà tí àwọn mẹ́rẹ̀ẹ̀rin ṣàkóso ilé ayé ìtura dé báwọn èèyàn ìdẹ̀kùn dé báwọn èèyàn kò sí wàhálà kò sí àríyànjiyàn wọ́n ń gbádùn
argument. They enjoy the governance.
Naam lẹ́yìn náà tí àwọn khalifa ìbá kúrò lẹ́tàn ní ó wá kan ìjọba àwọn lọ́balọ́ba tó já sí pé àbòsí làwọn fi máa lùgbà ni wọ́n fi máa darí àwọn èèyàn wọ́n máa darí wọ́n máa ṣàkóso pẹ̀lú ìfẹ́nu àwọn náà máa bẹ dìgbà tọ́lọ́run bá ó fi ká wọn kúrò lẹ́yìn náà àwọn tó tún wá lé koko jù àwọn lọ yóò tún wá wáyé àwọn náà ni Malkan Jabariya ìjọba àbí àwọn lọ́balọ́ba tí ó máa jẹ àwọn èèyàn nípa wàláwọ́ká náà kó já sí pé inú ìgbẹ́ ni wọ́n fẹ́ káwọn èèyàn máa tọ̀ lọ wọ́n sì máa pa wọ́n láṣẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni pé ẹ máa ṣe ẹ máa tẹ̀lé wa lẹ́yìn náà Ọlọ́run ti wá tu gbogbo ayé lára pẹ̀lú kí ni ìdá khilafa padà wá lórí ìlànà àwọn ànábì Ọlọ́run lẹ́yìn eléyìí kẹ́kẹ́ òun náà ni pé sultan bá wo àkóso ilé ayé nísìn a rí pé a ti witness oríṣiríṣi ìjọba oríṣiríṣi ìṣàkóso àwa náà ó sì máa rí ìka tọ́ sí pé eléyìí ìjọba alábòsí ni eléyìí ìjọba jẹpajẹpa ni eléyìí àsìkò àwọn eléyìí ló dáa látara àwọn àkọọ́lẹ̀ tá a rí àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ so eléyìí fi ń yé wa nípa the real world order bí àkóso ilé ayé bó ṣe wà gangan so eléyìí ó jẹ́ àdìsá Ànábì wa Muhammad sallam kọlọmba kó fún wa ní àgbọ́yé ju bí a ti ṣe sọ̀rọ̀ aqulu qawli hadha astaghfirullah wa barakatuh.
Said Adigun, I think you can take it from here, sir.
Also, Brother Elder Idris and Sister Shukro can take over.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I hope my voice is audible enough.
Yes, sir, it is. We want your video to be visible too.
Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبع بدعوته إلى يوم الدين. We give glory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of infinite majesty. We seek the benediction of Allah on the noble soul of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, companions, and all those that follow his footsteps to the end of time. Brothers and sisters in Islam, it gives me pleasure to be with us here today, especially for the topic that is to be discussed this morning. The assumption is that this session is for the married, but we can also have people that are married at heart, that is those who are having the prospect of getting married, inshallah. Today marks the 5 of the Islamic vacation course, the 111th edition. And we will be looking at how the program itself is couples hangout, as it had been announced earlier. So the focus for the session is on intentional parenting. Intentional parenting. You know, we are used to parenting, but there's an adjective added to it, intentional. And we have scholars who have been scholars as well as parents who have been invited to discuss this issue, to give us more information on how intentional parenting can actually be achieved. And I'll be going through this session with Sister Shukro, or Ajia Shukro, as she has been announced. And I want her to come on and say testimony to the house. Ajia Shakira, sorry. Ajia Shakira, are you here?
Ajia Shukro Odufe.
Okay. Okay, while we await connection, let me quickly invite a person to recite for us a specific portion of the Quran that will serve as a lead for the discussion this morning. So the technical crew, please, can you help us with that?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن اشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد وإذ قال لقمان لبنيه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير وإن جاهداك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي ثم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانهى عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عظم الأمور ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم وبلغ رسوله الكريم. جزاكم الله خير. For those who have observed the quality of the audio, we want to apologize for that. Our brother has read from Surah Luqman, and those verses are divine from Allah on what should be the parents' role in nurturing the children, and to further give us an exposition on that. We have three. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. So that is my co-host for this morning. Together we shall allow me to do it for us. So the third person who will also be involved in this program is Madam Saeed Adigun, who will now give us the profile of the three panelists. We have a professor, a doctor, and class. So they have been invited with their family or their spouses, so that we will have a comprehensive analysis of the issue at hand. So Madam Saeed Adigun will give us a rundown of their profile, after which we will go into the discussion program.
The following are the profile of the first guest lecturer for today, Professor Abdul Yusuf and his wife. Professor Abdul Yusuf is a professor of law. He is currently engrossed in research at the University of Ulster, where he is a visiting professor at the School of Advanced Studies, University of London. He has taught in universities across the United Kingdom, Belfast, Scotland, and England. In our earlier professional career, following a 2-year stint in private practice, he worked as a law officer in the Attorney General's Chamber, Lagos State Ministry of Justice. He has won awards and international recognition for his work, including the prestigious John T. Sewell Prize for Canadian Constitutional Legal History in 2015. Professor Hakeem has consulted for governments, including those in the United States and Her Majesty Government of Giba Tribe. He has also consulted for non-governmental organizations, including like the Center for the Studies of Violence and Reconciliation in South Africa. Let me welcome Professor Hakeem, so he can do testing to the house before we read the profile of his wife.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, the wife, Ajia Karima Bakari Yusuf, graduated from the University of Lagos in Islamic Studies Education. She worked with the Lagos State Ministry of Education before moving to the United Kingdom. She currently works in the health and social health sector. So she can say Teslim to us, but I gather she might just join shortly. So I'll move to the second guest, Dr. SULAIMAN OGUNMUYIWA. Dr. SULAIMAN OGUNMUYIWA is the Deputy Director in the Office of Education Quality Assurance, Ministry of Education, Lagos State. He is also a consultant and trainer in education and counseling. He is a lead marriage counselor with M Solution Consult International Limited. He provides consultancy services to school proprietors across Nigeria on setting up and managing educational institutions and developing academic curricula. He has a bachelor's degree in guidance and counseling and a master's degree in both guidance counseling and education administration from the University of Lagos. He got his PhD from the University of Abuja in education administration and planning. He is the chairman and corporate trustee of the First Class Muslim Foundation. He is also chairman New Christian International Travels and the president of Complete Trust Cooperative Multi-Purpose Society, an interest-free institution. Dr. SULAIMAN may want to say testing to the house.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We would like to use. Okay, I'll move to the profile of the wife. Mrs. Kudro Omolola Ogunmuyiwa is a deputy director in the Ministry of Education, Lagos State. She's a partner at M Solution Consulting International Limited, a firm that deals with education and counseling. She has a bachelor's degree in economics education and a master's degree in economics administration from the Lagos State University and University of Lagos, respectively. She is the incoming Hamira of Federation of Muslim Women Association of Nigeria, Form 1, which is a local government area. She is an alternate health practitioner and a partner with Forhow for pharmaceutical, and she is highly passionate about health and wellness. Ajia may want to say testing to the house now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The last profile for Dr. Ismail Busayri will be done by the Noble Amir, Brother Mukhtar Yetuji.
Now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da. We give thanks to Almighty Allah once again for giving us the opportunity of today. And we ask Allah to put barakah in our affairs. As we know, today's session is going to be a very elaborate one. And we pray to Allah to grant us success in it. As we can see, we have academians in the house. So it is only proper that we have a proper Islamic scholar, bi'idhnillah, to put all necessary perspective to the discussions that we are going to be having, inshallah, which is why we have invited one of our most admired Ustadh by name, Dr. Ismail Busayri. Needless to say that he's also an academician, having had the word doctor in his profile. But we are not going to say much about that. Our doctor is a renowned Islamic scholar currently resides in Papua New Guinea, Australia. He has been engaging in dawah outreach to different countries of the world at different points in time. He's also the director, the mudir of that popular madrasa in Ibadan, where several hufaz, young hufaz, are produced year in, year out. Where several hufaz are produced year in, year out. Our Ustadh is married with children, happily married. Unfortunately, we witnessed the demise of one of his wives not too long ago. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive her, and we ask Allah to count her among the successful in this one and hereafter. So brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, I present to us Dr. Ismail Busayri. He'll be taking us along with intentional parenting. He'll be telling us al-usra kama yuriduha al-Islam. How is the home supposed to be according to the tenets and dictates of Islam? And it has a PowerPoint presentation to that effect, inshallah. So like I said, it's going to be a very interesting and elaborate session. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for our three facilitators and their families. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So I believe Mr. Abdul is done. That's Mr. Abdul. Can we take it over?
Yes, I'm done with the profile, sir. So we can move to the main event now.
Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The way the session has been structured, the panelists are supposed to give us lead discussion for about 12 minutes each, after which some questions that have been prepared will be thrown to them for them to elucidate on. Then there will be a short session for interview, after which the questionnaire that was sent out, the outcome of the questionnaire and observations will be presented so that the panelists can also contribute to that. So after that timeout, we will take one or two questions from the audience. So let us sit back and the psychologically and physically part of this session. So I will call on Sister Shuko to lead the panelists on the discussion.
The first person we will be calling is Professor Hakeem Yusuf to speak to us briefly for 12 minutes on intentional parenting and also cover difference between Generation X and Z.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to share ideas with brothers and sisters on parenting, but specifically on this topic and theme, intentional parenting. I think it can't come at a better time. And I'm very pleased that one of the hosts, Brian Idris, rightly noted that we all know about parenting, but what we want to discuss a little more about is intentional parenting. And that particular conjunction of intentional with parenting is the main issue of interest today. I think that if we take that lead of intentional with parenting, as Muslims, we cannot overemphasize the position of intention, first and foremost, in our way of life, Islam, because innamal amal biniyat, that all actions will be judged by intentions. And so we need to form a concrete intention if, and I say if, we want to engage in parenting. Okay, so first, my thoughts are that we as Muslims place a lot of importance on intention. And because of that, when we talk about parenting, then we also have to have that intention. What should that intention be? The intention should be to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to regard parenting as part of our duties as Muslims, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, O you who believe, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. You should save yourself from fire and your family from fire. So that family here, we can understand it to mean the family which we are from, but mainly the family which we have constituted as parents. The ulama focus a lot on the meaning of that verse to mean that we are supposed to save our souls as well as that of the children and the family that we constitute from fire. So we should have that intention of parenting as an act of worship, parenting as a mechanism from saving our souls and that of our family from hellfire. Now, from a social level, on a social level, parenting in Islam, or parenting generally actually, should be a conscious action. And that is, I think, the intention of also the organizers who have wisely picked this theme at this time for us. That parenting is not an accidental thing, but that parenting should be a deliberate, intentional thing. And what I mean by this includes the fact that we cannot be parents by accident. Islam does not intend for us to be parents by accident. We must be parents by deliberate choice, because we don't have to be parents. I think it may sound strange that as Muslims, somebody can say that we don't have to be parents. But yes, we don't have to be parents. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we should marry in the Quran. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also told us to marry in the hadith. But it is not everybody that is actually required to marry in the first place. And if you decide to marry, it is not everybody that is required to be a parent. There are some people who are not fit to be parents, and they shouldn't be parents. Let me repeat that. There are some people that are not fit to be parents, and they shouldn't be parents. It's not everything that is allowed that is for everybody to do as Muslims. Just like the fact that we have salat, we are required to perform salat in a particular way till we die. Still, under certain conditions, we have women being exempted from salat at certain points. We have children being exempted at certain age. we have people who are required to still perform salat, but in a modified way. Saum, we have Saum, and yet Saum is one of the pillars of Islam like salat, and yet at certain points, some people are exempted or temporarily or permanently. The same with zakat, the same with Hajj. If the pillars of Islam are structured with that requirement that they are obligatory, yet it is not for everybody at every time, how much less parenting? So if we want to be parents, Islam wants us to be deliberate about it. And intentional parenting starts, in my view, with that first intention to be a parent and what the intention should be about. It should be for the sake of Allah and to benefit humanity. Now, in terms of where does intentional parenting start? For me, intentional parenting starts before we even get married, before we become parents at all. Intentional parenting starts from the parent themselves, the prospective parent, the individual, the man, the woman, educating themselves and being aware of their responsibilities as individuals in society from an Islamic perspective, which include, if they choose to be a parent, includes parenting. The ulama in Islam say that whoever does something without knowledge, he will do more harm than good. So parenting requires building up the individual themselves to be a parent, which at the tail end of them getting into the institution of parenting starts with marriage itself. At that point, a Muslim will be parent, should be very deliberate about their choice of a spouse, the sister about their choice, the man about their choice, the male, the female, i.e., you choose the right co-parent. If you want to be a parent, you should choose the right co-parent that you want to help you in this duty of parenting. Prophet ﷺ called our attention to this. We know that it is important to choose the right man and the right woman to be your partner. Because of time, we won't go into that. So, but that is part of intentional parenting. This seed that is going to come from the two of you. So that is part of intentional parenting. Intentional parenting, of course, has so many dimensions, which I know we'll go into different dimensions today. But part of those dimensions is that even the act, when you engage in the act that could lead to bringing a new soul into the world, Islam also wants us to be conscious at that point that when you meet each other as husband and wife or conjugal relations, that you have in mind, it is very important. Allahumma janibna shaytana wa janib shaytana ma razaqtana. This is part of intentional parenting. That consciousness that, oh, what we are going to, if this act we are going to engage in is going to result in our becoming a parent, oh Allah, make that our seed, that our child, one that will be that will be protected from shaitan. Whatever child that possibly comes out of this relationship tonight should be protected. So these are spiritual aspects. These are seemingly small but crucial acts that demonstrate a consciousness on what is called intentional parenting from the Islamic perspective. So that intentional parenting, you will see, is not something that begins from the point when the child is now in the world. It begins from when the individual is going to bring up the child themselves starts conceiving that they have such an intention. So this is my introductory thoughts on intentional parenting. I don't know if you want me to go on to the Generation X aspect or not at this point.
No, not yet, sir. Not yet.
Thank you. Okay, so how many more minutes do I have? Just to be sure, I don't want to overshoot.
You have 5 minutes.
5 more minutes
5
out.
minutes,
Good. So now, thank you. So let's break it down a little more. In terms of them being an intentional parent, a Muslim is required to understand, as far as my experience goes, that this duty of parenting actually is something for life. If you look at Prophet Luqman alayhi salam in the verses that were read to us in chapter 31 of the Quran, verse 13 through to verse 19. Part of what was read to us said that when Luqman alayhi salam was about to die, he called his children. Okay, now there isn't sure proof evidence of what age Prophet Luqman was, but a parent, as a parent, is still calling his children. I suppose he had grown to a reasonable age where his children are not kids anymore, yet he called them as to their duties. He called them to their responsibilities. He called them to their duty to their parents, to their duties to Allah first, to their duties to their parents, and to their duties to society. This is an excellent choice by the organizers, mashallah, to guide us on what parenting is meant to look out for. Duty to Allah, duty to the parents, and duty to parents and family, and duty to wider society. Luqman alayhi salam called his children to that. And this is a lifelong duty. And Yoruba people say this actually well, especially our mothers. They conceive of parenting as something, its form changes and evolves with the development and age of the children, but it is not something that ends once the child himself is married off and is gone. No, parenting in the Islamic conception, as these ayahs of Quran chapter 31 sets out, is a lifelong duty. And one of the things that this methodology that we have found in Surah to Luqman verse 31, 13 to chapter 31 verse 13 to 19 shows us is an uslub, it's a methodology that shows us that Luqman alayhi salam at his deathbed it would be useless if he had not tried to imbibe these points in his children, and then he's dying, he just calls them. It's meaningless. It's meaningless to just write in his will, which is literally what he's doing here, to write in his will and tell his children, worship Allah, when he had not brought them up to worship Allah as kids. Be good to family, when he has not brought them up to be good morally. Be good in society and be good citizens, when he has not brought them up to be. It's useless because he can't enforce it. He can't. It will be empty words. It means then that this duty and this responsibility of the parent is a lifelong one that evolves, that involves the three most important points of contact for individuals as Muslims. First, to Allah, because if we bring up our children intentionally to recognize Allah, it will then be easy and believe in Him and worship Him alone. It will be easy to be able to call
341.
to be good. Sorry, somebody is not muting there. To be good to their parents and then to be good to society. But this call of Luqman alayhi salam is just a reminder to give us what the duty is, a lifelong responsibility based on bringing up the good individual. Society today, all over the world, is in crisis. Societies are in crisis to the level and extent of how intentional parenting features in those societies. It is not an accidental thing.
Time is up, sir.
It's a deliberate thing.
Prof, sir. Prof, sir, we need to put that. Thank you very much, sir. So we'll still come back to you as the session continues, sir. So, Sister Shukro, please engage the second set of panelists. Okay. Excuse me. Dr. Sulaiman OGUNMUYIWA. So let me put it this way: your family is expected to lead us into further the discussion on intentional parenting. Though the area of interest will be developing the child physically, mentally, and socially. I think the skills that are required while developing the child physically, mentally, and socially, sir. Dr. Sulaiman OGUNMUYIWA.
Yes, Sister Shukro is back. I thought maybe she would love to say something before I start.
Okay. So, Sister Shukro, are you there?
Our headset is not working, I guess. But maybe I should just go on. How would it be like?
I think it's part of the mentors.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Let me first and foremost thank the MSS for giving me this opportunity to be on this call, to share my thoughts on intentional parenting. I am really excited about this event, particularly because I'll be sharing the platform with my age-long friend, Professor Abdul, Kim Yusuf, who ran to the UK and left me in Nigeria. It's a pleasure being with you on this platform, Prof. Again, sharing the platform with Ustadh, who also left me in Nigeria and ran to Papua New Guinea. No problem. I'm sure God knows the number of the two of you's address. But it's fine. I'm happy to really be here, and I'm going to premise a lot of my discussion on the opening talk by Professor Abdul Hakeem. He has said it rightly. Intentional parenting can also be said to be deliberate parenting. What people do mostly in this part of the world where I live, Nigeria, is that you give birth to your child and you allow the society to train your child. This is quite strange in Islam. He has given us some hadiths to back up this. Let me also say that somebody came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he emphasized the fact that you need to make the right choice if you want a good family, because your children are going to be exactly like you or like your wife or progeny or your own, your progeny. So again, somebody came to a companion and said, I have come to break a news for you that my wife just delivered a baby boy. So the scholar, the Sahaba, rejoiced with him and he said, I have a request. And my request is, I want you to teach me, how am I going to train this child? And the scholar said, it is late. You're already late. It is not when you have a child in the world, that you have a child that you have birthed already, that you now want to learn how to take care of the child. Meaning that the same point that the choice of spouse is very important in the training, was carrying the pregnancy, all those periods too are periods that you need to demonstrate the kind of child that you want and how you want to train them. So intentional parenting, therefore, refers or pay more attention to the home and the school. There must be a synergy between the two. I saw a quote just this morning where it is said that education is most successful when there is a partnership between the home and the school. And Rasulullah said there are three things that must be present in the training of a child if you want the child to be successful. He said, righteous father and mother. Secondly, that the child must be fed from an halal source. And thirdly, that the child must be taught by a sympathetic teacher. And this is what brings to fore the role of the school in ensuring that they have sympathetic individuals, teachers, taking care of the children in school, because they have a role to play in the concept of intentional parenting. We must know that we just have to be intentional. We don't have any option. Because Susan told us again in an hadith from Buhari and Muslim that every newborn has the correct instinct. His parents make him a Jewish or a Christian or a fire worshiper. Now, all that Allah creates in terms of children are created with pure innate nature, without defect whatsoever. So if any defect now happens to them in life, it is as a result of the bad education, bad parent, or bad environment in which the children or the child has been raised. So parents are the foremost trainers of their children, and they have to do this intentionally. They must have a plan to ensure that we are able to train our child towards a particular direction where he is going to make a choice of what he wants to become in future. We must know that children are a trust, a gift from Allah, which we have to account. So if you are not intentional about it, it's like somebody going to Salat. You go to the mosque and pray Salat and your mind is not there. We remember the verse in the Quran where Allah calls those who pray. He said, Wailun lil musallin, alladhina hum an salatihim sahun, alladhina hum yura'un. You know, those who go to the mosque, those who use their children as show off, those who are not intentional about training their children to what they want them to become, they are not going to get any reward for it. They are not going to get anything in return for it. So we have to be intentional. Now, without much ado, my focus is on how do we develop our children physically, mentally, and socially. And I think this is very, very key, because there is no child that is not supposed to have a balanced growth in terms of mental and physical. Now, if you don't give your child or children the right food to eat, they won't grow up to become the right human being. If they don't have the right amount of sleep, they won't grow up to become the kind of functional human beings that we want them to be. So there's an amount of sleep that they require. There's an amount of food that they require. There's an amount of play that they require. These are the three things that is going to make a child to grow up physically balanced. And so you have to engage your children in exercise. Now, I came to understand this very importantly during the lockdown in 2020. Everybody was locked down at home. So my son would get bored and would say, Daddy, let's play table tennis. Well, we don't have a table tennis board. So we turned our dining table to start playing table tennis. We go to the back of the house and start playing football. Now, I now realized that as at 2020, my son has more strength than me. 2020 was 12 or 12. It was 12. And 2020, I was close to 50. Okay, but he had more strength than me. He could engage in more physical, things more than I could do. So the fact that when we play football, he will do better than me, gave him a lot of confidence, made him happy. Even though when we play table tennis, I watch much better. But at times, I have to allow him to even win me so that he can gain that confidence. When your child competes with you physically, when your child is able to engage with you in some physical exercises, it gives him that confidence that if I go outside and meet other people, I will definitely do better. So we engage together in exercises, in games, in sports to the best of our ability. In fact, there was a time I would take him to Mubaf, he will go, and I'll come back home. Then he started insisting that, Daddy, you have to follow me to Mubaf. So the day I followed him to Mubaf, and I also kitted, I didn't play, I was just a goalkeeper. And he came to me and said, Dad, you are such a good goalkeeper. I said, yes, I was. In those days, I could play and I could do this. So that gave him some sense of, assurance that, okay, so if my dad was, then it means that I can also be very good. Then when it comes to mental, I'm still going to mention some few tips about how we can achieve this, When it comes to mental, we have to engage our children in a lot of discussion. Okay, my son plays a lot with, what do we call this thing? Rubik's Cube. And he will say, in 10 minutes, I'm going to do this. In 5 minutes, I'm going to set it in this. And for me, I can't just give me a whole day. I cannot fix that Rubik Cube. So I always move away from it. But I encourage him. So he kept doing it from 10 minutes to 5 minutes to this minute to 1 minute. And he's learning a lot of skill and it's developing him mentally. That is just one of the ways. Instead of you allowing children to sit before the TV where they're not doing anything mental except to just listen and laugh. But when they play with some things, when they do some things that has to do with movement, that has to do with their reasoning, they are developing it. And engaging them in discussion will also go a long way to see the way they think and teach them the process of critical, analysis. How do you engage in physical, discussion, critical discussion? How do you arrive at answers when you are having a meeting, when you're having a discussion? Then we have to teach them a lot of moral, because all social skills falls under morals. And this is where, as the parent, our emotional intelligence is very, very key. I think I'm running out of time. So let me just go on to mention some few tips that I want to say. Number one, we have to talk to our children and not talk at them. When you talk at them, you disturb them psychologically, you disturb them mentally, and you make them develop wrong social skills. Secondly, you have to play with your children. Don't ignore them, especially when they come to you and say, Dad, let us play. Mom, let us play. Okay, just ask them, okay, what kind of play do you want? And how many minutes? If it's going to be 10 minutes, why don't you give it to them? Don't ignore them. Rasulullah said in one hadith, he said, a good act is written down in the record of your virtuous deeds for one who gives a kiss to a child, to his child. Just for you to embrace your child and kiss your child on forehead, kiss your child on the back of the palm. These are things that you are going to get reward for. So the same thing, if you have reward for that, if you engage in a play with your child, you definitely get reward for that. Also, we have to establish clear rules and guidelines in the house and for your children when they go out of the house. These rules must involve their physical well-being. You don't beat in any circumstance. You don't hit others. I listened to a group of doctors. They did a workshop on parenting, and they were teaching us how to establish rules. Now, how do you establish rules? It's not just by saying it one time. No, you say it several times. Maybe your child misbehaves and one sibling hits another one. You go to the other one that hit his brother or sister and say, listen, He has said we don't hit here. You don't beat other people. You rather report, okay? Go and sit down there. We don't eat. When you turn your back, the doctor said you count 20 seconds. You repeat the instruction again. Yasir, you remember, we don't eat, we don't beat, we don't slap. This is the way to establish rules. Rules are not just established, read once, and you want your children to just follow it. You have to go over the rules over and over again. Now, teach your children to speak their mind. Don't shout them down. Don't tell them they don't have opinions. Don't let them believe that they don't have views that can be respected. Then always
Doctor,
respect
you have
your
1 minute
children.
more.
All right,
Doctor,
1 minute, fine.
You have 1 minute more.
So you respect your child's rights to privacy, rights to property ownership. This cup belongs to him. Nobody should use it. Let it be his own. Then, as parents, we should learn to apologize to our children. Don't assume that their feeling does not count. When you apologize to them, they will learn how to apologize to you. They will learn how to apologize to other people without being forced. And finally, I will say, don't allow your children to plan their activities alone. Always plan activities with them. This is holiday period. What are the things we are going to do? We are going to do this, we are going to do this, we are going to do this. Plan it with them and give them some follow-up. I believe if we do this, we will have been able to successfully develop our children physically, mentally, and socially. Jazakumullah khair. Shukran.
Ameen wa alaikum. Jazakumullah khairan. Now, I think we can have a rundown of some of those games that have been shared by the two speakers. I think, can I go ahead and do that? Before we move on to next speaker. So they have mentioned being intentional about parenting, that we should see it as a duty as a Muslim, and that we should equally see that parenting in Islam is not by accident, and that there are some people who are not fit to be parents. I think it's a very important point that there are some people, I'm just saying that for the first time anyway, and that we should know that when we parent intentionally, we are benefiting humanity. And we should equally know that parenting intentionally starts from choosing the right partner and being conscious during conjugal relationships. And that we should know that our duties as parents is to Allah first, to the child we have brought forth to the world, and then to the entire humanity. And from Dr. OGUNMUYIWA's presentation, he mentioned that developing the child's physical, mental, and social skills means that we need to be there for our children. We need to learn to talk to our children and not talk at them. It's a very important point that we all need to take note of. Then we need to learn to play with them and not ignore them. Even if it's going to be time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, then establishing clear rules and guidelines in the home and outline those rules and guidelines and reiterate as much as possible those rules and guidelines. Then we need to teach our children by apologizing to them when we err or when we do one thing or the other. We need to apologize to them so that we'll teach them how to equally apologize to people when they have done the same. And then finally, we talked about planning activities together. We should not leave them to plan activities on their own. We should give them support whenever they're planning activities and then be present with them when they are going on with these activities. That's just the rundown of what we have been saying. The next speaker.
Well, Jazakumullah khair for the summary. Before we call on Dr. Busayri, at the beginning we said it is meant for the couples, but those who are prospective couples could join. From what Dr. Sulaiman said, it is one could even assume that it's for the prospective couples, not even the couples, because most of us have already brought our children. They are already, some of them are even getting married already. So we want to say it is already late for some of us, but it's never too late. So those who are on the platform, who are prospective couples, should take more cognizance of the messages being passed. May Allah make it easy for us all. Dr. Busayri had a presentation to make, and we have time frame for all presentations. So I want to plead that, sir, you should help us do it within 15 minutes, as much as you can, sir. So you can take the floor.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبي الأمين وآله وصحبه أجمعين. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has appointed us Muslim Ummah as his viceroys on earth, and chose the Muslim nation led by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the best community to set the standard and enforce orderliness and return people back to their Lord. We beseech Allah to bless abundantly and continually Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and of course all other prophets and their household and their faithful followers till the day of recompense. Let me as well join my voices with those of my brothers in appreciating the organizers, the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria. So I'm highly delighted, despite the permeation of evil on the land and the sea, like Allah said in the Quran, especially among the youth in our time. We still find some Muslim youths who not only upholding the deen, but also doing their best to mobilize people away from Shaitan and to set the standard for them to follow in all important aspects of their life. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for this effort that you are making, and inshallah ta'ala accept all you are doing from you as sincere ibadah. Having said that, I do think it will be very deserving to take us through the appraisal of Dr. Yusuf Kordawi's book, which is about a Muslim family. The major aspect of the book was about establishing Muslim home, while towards the tail end, there are two presentations anyway about the book. So one is about evolving a sustainable or enduring Muslim home, while the other is about role of parenting, the second part. But essentially our discussion this morning, like you're in morning time, though we're at night, it's 8 p.m. here now. So it's about intentional parenting. I would like to relate this to the theme of our IVC this year, the real new world order. Like the new world order being set by the international community led by United Nations and the superpower and many of their agencies like the UNICEF, like WHO, like UNDP and all those agencies. They are setting many rules and regulations and way and manners, the new way and manners of doing things that affect virtually all aspects of human life, which and of course family life is not excluded, financial, political, educational, cultural, then as well as family, which parenting is involved. If we critically look at how this has affected Muslim family as far as the parenting is concerned, like the first discussant and the second discussant, they emphasize the phenomenon of accidental parents, people who are not ready yet to be parents. They are not ready yet for marriage, but they find themselves in the scenario. So the New World Order is essentially this is a resultant, an evil resultant of the New World Order about the institution, the family institution, whereby there's what we call al-ibahiyya, liberalism, give an absolute and unbridled freedom to opposite sex to intermingle, to interact, and they deny the parents and the society and the government from interfering with their relationship. There is what is called trial marriage now. There's couples life, which is very common in our tertiary institutions. And this kind of illicit relationship are protected by modern law in Western country. No one has anything to say about who becomes the spouse of your girl or your boy. So this gives rise to what we call accidental parenting. Because in the process of trying marriage, in the process of couples life, so though they introduce what is called contraceptives, but many times it will fail, and thereby pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy will occur. So by virtue of that, they find themselves as parents without preparation. And now we are talking about parenting. In this new world order now, we have three categories of parents. Three categories of parents. We have artificial parents. We have single parenting, and we have children, in fact, without parents. The artificial parent is a situation whereby maybe some couples, they have challenges of infertility. So they will, in the new world order now, in the Western country, and maybe, I don't know about Nigerian community. So they will go to sperm bank, and they will take from the sperm bank anonymous sperm to do insemination to the barren or infertile woman, or the man that is suffering from low sperm count. Thereby, the child coming, so the father would, there will be two fathers. The real biological father, who is anonymous, and the artificial father, who is now the husband of this pregnant woman. So, and naturally, there wouldn't be that natural bondage, natural love, which Allah said, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, in such a family and in such a parenting. As well, at times, it may be that the woman is suffering from infertility. Now, there is a situation in the West now whereby they will rent the womb. They will inseminate, artificial insemination with the sperm of the husband to another woman who will carry the baby. They will take the egg of the woman and the sperm of the husband and put it in another womb. So there will be two mothers now for such as a child. The biological mother, the owner of the egg, and the artificial mother that they rented the womb. In such a situation, there is it's problematic too. There won't be that bondage in that kind of parenting. So then we have single parenting, whereby the woman they cannot even say in our culture, Yoruba will say, but it is such bad now that becomes difficult for some women to identify, to pinpoint that this is the father of my child. So they become single parent, and very common in the Western country. And in fact, the bastard, the fatherless child, they are more now than the child that they have a family they can call their own. And in some situation, because of this promiscuity, they will throw away children on the street, in the marketplace, and church, in mosque. So they will find such children without father, without mother. And in fact, in the book of Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, the first right of the children on the parent is the right of parenthood, right of lineage. right of lineage, to be born into a family where they can be proud of that. This is my father, this is my grandfather, this is our lineage, this is our tribe. But in the current situation of the New World Order, that is not very achievable in many instances. I will agree with them that in Islam, parenting is a deliberate attempt, should be intentional, and is highly rewarding if you have chosen to be responsible for a family, to be responsible for your children. Why doing that? The Prophet ﷺ advised, and Quran first. When we go through Quran chapter 7, verse 58, Surah Al-A'raf, Allah says, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. Meaning, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ, from the land that is clean and good, a fertile land, by the will of its cherisher, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala springs up produce, rich after its kind. But from the land that is bad, springs up nothing but that which is niggardly. The ulama, the Muslim sociologists, now take this to mean like a family. Quran in another verse, Nisa'ukum harthun lakum. Your women, they are like your farmland. Fa'tu harthakum anna shi'tum. So they are your like your farmland. So when a farmer wants to choose his farmland, he's very careful and choosy so that all the effort will not be wasted. Will never choose a barren land to toil and soil, and at the end of the day, nothing good will come out of it. So marriage is more important, because if you miss it this year, you get it the next year. But as far as marriage is concerned, it's a lifetime contract. So we have to be careful choosing our co-parents, like they have said. And this, the Prophet ﷺ further explained when he said, be careful, be choosy when you want to choose where you are discharging your sperm, because lineage nazar can be inherited. There is hereditary in lineage. If you marry from a bad family, bad lineage, that could tell on the parents, on the kind of child that you get. Then beware of the vegetable that is harvested from the dump ground, from the dump. Then the Sahaba asked the Prophet, "Waman khadra uduman ya Rasulullah." What do you mean by dump ground when we are talking of marriage here? What does that has to do with vegetable? Then the Prophet said, "Al-mar'atul hasna." Eforiakita is the woman that is very beautiful, very pretty, but comes from a bad home. So he had a bad training from bad parents. So be careful of such. So essentially, we have to be careful who our co-parents will be. Then again, like when we are talking about intentional parent, it means that before you become a parent, you may be like deficient in some aspect. As you are now preparing to be parents, you have to ensure that you make up for those deficiencies, because you are now not living only for yourselves. You are living now for your parents, for your children. They are looking at you more than they listen to you. Al-awladu yasma'unakum bi abasarihim wa laysa bi asma'ihim. Your children are listening to you by their gazes, by what they see you doing, not what they hear you saying. So you are now, as a careful, an intentional parent, now you have to be careful of what you do, especially in front of your children, because they are looking up to you. They are emulating you. They will do more what you do than doing what you say. That is very, very essential too. Also, some of the aspect that is affecting parenting today with the new world order is the aspect of breastfeeding. Quran says, وَلِوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنْ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ. The foster, the nursing mother will breastfeed their children for 2 complete years. But now with the new world order, especially for career women, some will do it maximally maybe 6 months. And even during those 6 months, there is no natural bond between the woman and the child. They will now extract with the hand pump or whatever, the breast milk, and put it in bottle for the baby to drink. Whereby Islam desire that the baby should be attached to the breast of the mother and feel that kind of emotional attachment with the parent. This is in many instances no more. And in some other instances, instead of the mother's milk, they have replaced it with artificial animal milk, which is not as nutritious, not as healthy for the baby. Now, also, okay, Sean, how many minutes?
Well, you've exhausted the time. Let's say 1 more minute now.
Okay, thank you. Finally, to round off, there is what we can call now some living dead or living dead parents. Some parents are living, but it's even better that they are dead than the fact that they are living, because they are not there. They are not there for their children. Their children, they are not there to take care of. They are busy either with their job or with their personal desire, flying from place to place for vacation, for enjoyment, for entertainment, or for job. They are too busy to have any time for the parents. And the society is not ready in such situation to take up their responsibility because they are living. Whereby if they are dead and the children have become orphaned, so many people will run to their help because they have no father. But now they have father, but the father is not available for them because of too busy father. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, we have to emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in relating with our parents. He was the best friend of children, like Brother Dr. Sulaiman said. He kissed them, he hold them, and the Sahaba will be, even while praying, he will carry baby, standing, ruku, sujud, put it down, standing, pick again. Such was the Prophet. He will, like Dr. Sulaiman said, that he plays with his child. The Prophet will put his four down, be down on his hand and his leg, and crawling, and Hassan Hussein will ride on him like us. Abu Bakr saw them and said, "What are you doing? Stand up, come on." Said, "Leave them. They want to ride us, and I offered to be their horse." Oh, Abu Bakr said, "Oh, you have the best horse. Nobody can have this kind of horse riding at the back of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." So that was kind of parenting that is loving, caring, and not the one that will be like lion, and the children will fear him. Hearing the hooting of his car, they will run helter-skelter, hiding away. You should be such a parent that your children will run to embrace you, not running away from you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair. So that is looking at it from the Islamic point of view, which is also corroborating what had been said earlier. We'll move on now with some questions that will also give the viewers opportunity to have more wider knowledge of the discourse at times. Prof, sir, Professor Hakeem.
Yes, please.
Yes. In furtherance to your presentation,
yes,
the difference between Generation X and Generation Z, I want you to shed more light on it.
How many minutes do I have for that?
We have within 5 minutes, sir.
5 minutes. Okay. So to start with, I think my understanding is that my generation is Generation X, and it includes some, which will include all of the speakers too, the families of panelists. We are Generation X. And I just want to quickly say Taslim directly to Dr. Sulaiman, who is, as he said, has thrown me away out of Nigeria for so long. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi, and to Hajia too. And this is my first time of meeting Dr. Ismail Busayri. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Generation Z, in my understanding, are the generation of our own children and those close to them. And there are some things we share. There are some things that we don't. My starting point is that it's typical for generations to feel themselves being different. It's typical. There are a number of reasons. I felt that our generation was different from that of our parents. And I can extrapolate that with that of Generation Z too. We sort of they felt that things were more conservative, more ordered, and better ordered during their time. And there was more respect, more cohesion, better morality, and they even felt that education-wise, they were more serious than us. I can see all of that as some of the things coming through from Generation Z. But concretely, a number of things have changed. A number of things have changed between Generation X and Generation Z, the generation of our children. Our children are living in what I think even for us, Generation X, are exceptional time. Within a decade, social media has come in to change the world. Part of our being able to have this program is using the mechanisms of social media. But it's also social media that has been used negatively to cause a lot of havoc. So Generation X and Generation Z is living in an age of technology explosion, of information explosion, of the good, the bad, and the ugly, from the abundance of information, not necessarily also coinciding with abundance of knowledge. But Generation X and Z are living in an era that is one where a child can develop right there under the parents, but they don't relate at all with the parents. The parents do not know what is happening with them. They themselves are so distant because the world is with them. They are in a corner. When we were growing up, if you don't go out, the world does not come to you, except maybe the TV and the transistor radio for the most part when we were growing up. But Generation Z have been born into a technology explosion, advancement, which means that they are born almost with a tablet or a virtual instrument in their hands, a tablet, a phone, computer, all of these having everything from what is useful to what is not, from how to ride a bicycle, how to cook ogbono soup, to how to kill oneself. It's facade explosion also, like Dr. Busayri said. So there is a more challenging environment in which Generation Z is growing up. Our own parents felt it was already challenging for us, Generation X. I don't know what our parents' generation is. They already felt a big challenge. But if we can, there was still a lot of neglect of intentional parenting when we were growing up. Like Dr. Sulaiman said, this was the major adage was, the common adage was, you give birth to your children and the whole community helps you to nurture your child. Now it is the whole world, the world you don't want, the world you want, if you don't take care. So a major difference is the need for Generation X to try and catch up with the things that are happening around us and be internet savvy, and also recognize that things have changed a lot. It's so much the case that despite the fact that Generation X are some of the most educated, say in Nigeria or even around the world, the new generation feel they have better information. They are more savvy, they are able to connect and all of that. In some things it is right, in some things it is not. But the fact that youths, young adults or even teenagers typically feel, as we did back then, that they are on top of things better than their parents, creates a big, huge challenge, because the world has come to them, and Generation X, that is my generation, are facing a continuous challenge to try and be there rather than just the world being there for the children. So that's a big, big challenge. The Generation Z feel they are generally superior in their knowledge. And Yoruba people say, meaning that experience is a very, very big part of education. And that is a major issue that is a source of contention between Generation X and Generation Z. So in one word, the technology explosion, the communication explosion, the access to the internet, the use of social media has changed the world so vastly within 2 decades that Generation X face a big challenge of continuing to play catch up with Generation Z. That wasn't something that was really the case with Generation X and our own parents, as it were. Allah knows best because of time. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khair. So, like somebody said, we are the last generation to catch up with the past as well as the future. May Allah make it easy for us. Mr. Shukro, let's take it on from there. Okay.
Can she hear you?
I think we'll be going on a short break now.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
So we're going to be taking a short interlude now, which will be handled by Sahid Adigun.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam warahmatullahi.
Sorry, we just need a short interlude to conduct a poll. We want to see, because before this event, we had shared a survey, and we know the statistics we had then, and then the number of people that have attended. Even right now, we can see some Akmon that I can call, so-called Akmon among us. But what I want to find out is to launch a poll. I'm going to need the help of Brother Abdul Kabir. It's going to be like a 30 seconds poll. There will be 3 questions that will come to it will display on our screen now. We just need to respond to it so that we can know the number of, there are just 3 questions. So on your screen now, I expect everyone here should be able to see something. So this poll will be on for the next 45 to 60 seconds. So just respond, and then the lecture will continue afterwards, and we will mention the report of this poll after that. Keep it coming. I can see the number, about 100 people have just responded, and we're going to quite more than that number.
So, sorry, Said, where is it? Where are the questions? I can see the responses, but I can't see the questions.
Just hold on.
Only the participants can. Only the participants can ask questions. That's why.
That's fine. I just
Maybe
wanted
the
to
panelists.
May also be part. Those of the panelists who did the survey, they could also join this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we're having close to 200 respondents now, but we just need to be fast. Otherwise, the time I gave has already passed, but I want to capture as many people as possible. Okay, we may need to end the poll now. Jazakumullah khairan. So, Elder, you can continue, Sister Shukro. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakumullah khairan. Nami wa yako.
So the other question we have here, Dr. Sulaiman, sir. The question has to do with parenting as well. How do we balance between our friendship with our children and their peer group influence? Dr. Sulaiman, did you get the question?
Again, please. I didn't get it.
How do we balance friendship with our children and peer influence?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would say a little, and Aja will also add to it. Basically, I think that there's a time in the life of these children when they become teenagers, going to adolescent stage, that they will want to swap the types of friendship that they are engaging in. You know, all the while they have been living with their parents, they have been friends with their parents, but they will come to a time they want to leave their parents and go and look for friends outside. This is called Oedipus complex. Okay, so at this point, it is very critical that parents must maintain a balanced relationship with their children. It is at this period that they will do things that will annoy you. These are the time that they will not listen, they will not want to listen to you. These are the time that they want to argue with you and tell you they have an opinion. If you are not an accommodating parent who wants to listen to them, if you are not the type of parent who want to also accept some of their opinions, they will definitely, leave you and go and seek other friends outside. And the Oedipus complex actually emphasizes on looking for friendship in the opposite direction. So that is when you see a boy now trying to look for a girlfriend outside, or a girl that he can talk to, that can also, give different advice. And this is the time that he will want to move away from his father. The same thing, a lady, your daughter will want to move away from the mom and also look for a man outside that can be advising her. So when there's a pressure from the outside on a child, they'll be giving her a lot of advices. The way you have been relating with your child now comes to play. If you don't have a balanced relationship, a good relationship with them, they will keep you out. They will shut you out of all the pressure they will get from outside. And they are likely to bow to peer pressure. But if you have a good relationship with them, all the pressure coming from outside, they will bring it to your table. They will discuss with you. And your opinion, your suggestion, your care is going to play a big role in, giving them a direction as regards where they want to go. I know that in the secondary school there are a lot of peer pressure on children, and maybe she will want to take it from that angle.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I feel the peer pressure that children feels should be balanced with the love of the parents. There has to be a relationship in place, a deliberate effort to get into the world of these children. There should be a bonding time. When they come back from school, the mother or father should get into their world. How was your day? How was your teacher? How was your friend? How is this? How is that? And they start talking. You are into a discussion and you know what they are dealing with. And through that, you are able to assist and guide your child. So in this way, I feel it's not only the teachers, we should never leave our children to teachers only. Parents must oversee what happens to them, even in the school. They are the overall, they bear overall responsibility over these children. May Allah help the parents. So it's a great responsibility, especially on the mother. The mother, because the mother have a primary and automatic asset foundation due to the bond, the connection with the mother. So the woman have a great responsibility. She should not shy away. The Prophet knows when he says that train a woman and train a nation. And he knows when he says the whole world is a treasure, the best treasure is a virtuous woman. So mothers have a lot to do in balancing the peer pressures and with parental guidance. Wallahu alam.
Let me quickly chip in this question. I want Doctor to equally respond to it. Since we are particularly on this question of being our child's friend. Now, where do we draw the line between discipline, putting our foot down on issues, and at the same time being friends with our children?
Okay, thank you, Hajiya Shukra, for the question. Okay, so in parenting, there is something that is called intuition. Intuition is something that naturally comes to parents. It is intuition that lets you know where to draw the line between love and discipline. Now, there's a ground rule. The ground rule is you can't be a yes, yes, yes parent all the time. And you can't be a no, no, no parent all the time. So it has to be a balance of the two. There are times you say yes, there are times you say no. Now, when you do this, however, what do you say yes to? What do you say no to? It has to depend on your intuition and how you view the situation at that particular time. I give an example, and this works a lot. It works like magic when it comes to parenting. Now, when I used to live away from my parents' house, though it's not too far, and there's a particular route that we always take. Now, this particular day we were living, and there's a junction where they sell so many toys. So my son knew we were going through that direction. So when he saw us moving in that route, he just asked me, "Dad, you are going to buy toys for me today?" I said, but I don't have money. He said, you don't have money? I said, yes, I don't have money. He said, okay, no problem. So another time, we went to my parents' house and we were going, and he asked me again. The first thing he asked when we were leaving is, where are we taking? I said, it's this side. Okay, do you have money? I said, yes. Then we are going to buy toys. I said, no problem. And we got there, I packed, and we bought a couple of things and we go. So this is, I didn't plan to say no at a particular time. It is circumstance and my intuition. So at another time, I said yes. I knew where he was going when he asked me, which route are we taking? He said, yes, it's that place we are going to take. I said, okay, do you have money? I said, yes, I have money. Then he said, we are going to buy. And we went to buy. So the balance, like I'm trying to say, is know when to say yes and when to say no. And don't ever turn yourself to a yes, 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 daddy, or a no, 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 daddy. And the same thing for the mom. So your children are not sure of where they get the yes and where they get the no, because they know it can always, it can always change.
Elder.
Dr. Ismail is raising hand, so we can hear him speak for person.
Okay, so I'll move on to another question for Dr. Sulaiman. Is there a difference between how we nurture boys and how we nurture girls? I mean, should there be a difference in the way we parent a boy child and a girl child?
Yeah, definitely. Even though there are basic guidelines for parenting, which is general, and you know that at a point in time, you train children equally, but as they age, you start to differentiate, the goal of your training for each one of them. Even though now a lot of people will say that we should try to make the children go through the same kind of training. Now, specifically, because the nature of a boy is different from the nature of a girl, there are some specific training that are meant for them. But when it comes to training like house chores, yeah, it is not that we have to say that because you are a girl, you go to the kitchen. You are a boy, you go and wash the car. No. I have seen ladies washing their cars by themselves, changing tires by themselves. And it's all about training. So there are some things that has to be general. I was a bit lucky because I grew up amidst boys. From my parents, the firstborn to the fourthborn were boys, and the last two were girls. So before the girls will even come and take position in the kitchen, it took a long time. So we were the ones in the kitchen. And if you ask my wife today, she will tell you that there is nothing I cannot cook. I am a very good cook. In fact, check my profile anywhere. My hobby is cooking. Now, if I have not had an exposure into cooking, I'll just like a brother who will complain, about his wife that my wife does not prepare food on time. So if your wife does not prepare food on time, why don't you go and prepare the food yourself? You understand what I'm saying? And because the brother cannot even put water on fire, not to not talk of now boil rice. So we need to balance the kind of training we give to them at a point in time, but at another point in time, we have to be specific. This is what the Quran says. This is what these have taught us, that there are some training that you have to give to boys, there's some training you have to give to girls, and there are also general training that you need to give to all the children that you have.
I was I'm being informed that Dr. Busayri wants to contribute. I don't know if he can unmute himself and say something. Dr. Busayri.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add to what Dr. OGUNMUYIWA said about pressure, peer pressure on our children. In addition to all that had been said, it is our role as parents to create an enabling environment that will assist the nurturing and growth of our children positively. And that involves like which school they attend, for example. So many Muslim parents that are quote and unquote, like not like MSS, not like TMC parents. So the Muslim elite, many a times, they put their children in Christian school under the claim that is a standard or international or Montessori or this or that. So not minding other evil things that will come along with that kind of standard school. You see recently in Lekki of a child that was killed by his killed by his classmate while they are forcing him to join their cult group. See, we have to create an enabling environment. We have to choose who is going to be teacher of our wards, who are going to be their class teachers. Even like we have to be close as well to the school to see how best the teacher of our children is. If we have any complaint during the, whenever there are activities in the school of our children, like open day, so we have to go and see the environment, see the teacher, see this and that. So that is very, very essential. Other thing on specific training of child and of female, girl child and boy child. Yes, of course. Like the Prophet taught us, when they are this age, like age 10, we have to separate where they sleep, the opposite sex. That is one. Two, the girl child, many a times they mature, they reach maturity, puberty earlier than male child. You have to teach them about haidah, about what is now being called, quote and unquote, sex education. What what is dangerous, how they have to relate, especially with the opposite sex, as far as Islam is concerned. All these are very essential to teach our children at this stage. Thank you. Yeah, my regards as well to Dr. OGUNMUYIWA. Yeah, he took me to Hajj once and he never remembered me ever again. So Christian, how is the Christian?
You are doing great, sir.
I pray Allah and continue to be with you.
Amen. Shukran.
Sister Shukro.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan.
Move to the next segment now.
The next question I want to ask, and is about I want to emphasize, I think it has to do with what Dr. Busayri said. So I would just want to find or reframe the question around that. We all cannot afford private schools, Muslim schools, and we find ourselves, pushing our children to public primary or public secondary schools. How do we, as parents, monitor our children such that we'll be able to take care of their educational, spiritual, social interactions when we explore that particular option? Dr. Sulaiman.
Oh, so I think the question was for me. Can you please? Okay. I didn't.
Okay. I said we all cannot afford private Muslim schools. It's very obvious. And as we move our children to, or as we use the public school options, how do we, as parents, monitor our children, educational, spiritual, social interactions when they attend these schools? Because we know that in some schools, they come in contact with children from different walks of life, from different religions, from different backgrounds. So how do we as parents monitor such that we can actually know what our children are doing and we can guide them appropriately, particularly as it regards their spiritual, their social interaction, and also their educational interaction? I've had a student that it was later I got to know that the mother was actually even an hijabite, but for like 2 times he was repeating, and he didn't tell them at all that he was repeating. And it was not until second term, almost at the end of second term, that the mother now came to the school, and we now engaged her. She now said she never knew that her son was repeating, and she thought he had moved on to the next class. So how do we as parents assist our children?
All right, okay. Dr. Mrs. will answer, if you permit me to call her that.
Children of Muslims that attend public school, especially if the parents are conscious Muslims, they have a responsibility to monitor their children's spiritual development. Of course, right from home, the children will pray 5 times a day, and they have to know the reason why they are observing Salat. Same when they get to school, we need to encourage them to observe Salat and join the Muslim community. In most schools, we have the Muslim community. In most public secondary schools, they have Muslim communities that are functional. So this can take care of their spiritual well-being. The social interaction, they need to know the wrong from the right. They need to know people that are doing the wrong things and people that are doing the right. And we have values, we have culture, we are Muslims. So we have our ways. So they have to understand that this is our ways, and those that do other things, that is their way.
Okay, so I also want to add that, like she said, the real issue here is monitoring. Every child requires to be monitored. Every child, whether attends a public school or a private school or international school, they have to be monitored. I know students who went outside the shore of this country to study, and failed, and had to withdraw from an international school, and he didn't tell his parents, and he came back to Nigeria and he, went aloof, left the parents home and went somewhere else, and they had to start looking for him for months, just because they couldn't face them to tell them this is what happened. So everybody requires monitoring. So I'm going to strongly advise that parents who have their children in the public school should make regular, visit to the school, and also make impromptu visits to the schools. They must establish a relationship, personal relationship with teachers in the school, especially the teacher teaching English or teaching maths or teaching Islamic studies in the school. Maybe there's a teacher that don't even teach at all, teach your child at all, but this person is a Muslim. You particularly say, this is my son, this is my daughter, help me take care of. And this is going to be very good. And when your children comes back home, please allow them to interact with you. Talk to them, ask them questions. God's willing, something will just tell them in their mind that, suffer mommy, and they will just tell you. But when you don't create the opportunity to listen to them, they will swallow a lot of things, and before you know it, your children are way, way far from what you think they are. I know somebody who will leave the house in hijab, and they will go to a bank and change and dress the way she wants to. And when she's coming back home, she goes to the same bank and change back to the hijab and goes back home. And for years, the parent never knew that that is the kind of life she was living.
Okay, sorry, I think I was off for some minutes. So, Shukro, thank you for holding forth. But you can continue with the question so that I won't be repeating what has been asked.
Sister Shukro, you are muted.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, so we are going on a short break now, and we are going to have Malam Saida Adigun. He's going to be presenting the results of the poll that was just concluded. Malam Saida Adigun, we are on.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm trying to share my screen. We conducted a poll and we wanted to just share the results so that we can get advice from the guest. We selected those questions based on what we felt we were going through as challenges among us to craft the question so that people will be honest and blunt and will be able to respond to the question without being shy or anything. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen now. So from what we have on this screen, can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please.
Yes.
Okay. So the screen as it is, the first part, the number of years that we have, in total we have responses from 445 people, total number. So the gap that we had, people who got married between 0 and 5 years, we had, that's about 34, they make up 34%, 34.4%. And then the people who made between 5 to 10 years, they made up 31%. The 10 to 15 years, they are 23%. The green is 15 to 20 years, and the 20 plus are in purple. So then in total, we also have responses. The question was respond as a husband or as wife. So what we have is, we have in total 66.5 people who responded as wives, as compared to 33.5, which means the husbands were not very active with this record. And this will speak a lot too, whether we will have to say they didn't have time or they were really not interested. So the first question as a wife that we have is, how often does your husband initiate a dispute with you? So you can see the percentage, the ratio on the screen, because I may not be able to run through all of that. We have always 29%, you have often 28%, you have sometimes 30%. So that's the number we have. We have people who say never, we still have a fraction, very small number, and then we have rarely. Whether the ones in rarely and never, they are still not something encouraged. What we expect is to have the best standard so that we can always initiate this. So we expect a larger number of exports to come from the blue, which will be always. Then how often do you go out or work out together? We have sometimes 44.3%, which means it's not something frequent. The people who say always, they are in blue and they're very small. And then the people who say often, they are 19.9%. And the people who say rarely, they are in 29%. On the question, how often does he call when you are apart? So the number we have is 20, because the last time that we had this session, there was a point raised by Ustadh Sani about calling your wife and how often you do that. So it was a way to check and see whether some of what were discussed, whether they were being implemented. So what we see here is that the people who say always, they are just in 21.6%. Then 31.4% in often, they rarely do that. And the people who are in sometimes, they are about 35%. When he calls, is it to check on you? Because we wanted to know, calling is for one thing, whether he just called to say, get me this ready before I come home. So, but now, those who called to check on, he said, the people in blue say yes, he checked on them. So I'll just move on. Then score his relationship with your parents, the people who are the in-laws now. So you have the number from 1 to 10. The highest number is 45%, which is slightly okay. That means between 8, 9, 10, we have a total of about almost 40%. But it also shows that there are some people among us that they don't really have a good relationship with their in-laws. So we will need the advice of the guest. They should please note this. Then how often do you practice democracy in your home? That means, do you just take an authoritarian role? You don't consult your wife, you don't ask the children, based on most of what Dr. Sulaiman has mentioned now. So we have people who say they do that, 29.7%. People who say often, they do it often, that's 31.1%. And then the people who say sometimes 26%. How often does it settle school fees? A lot of people accepted this one. That's in fact, it's about 74% said always settle school fees. So which means we don't really have a problem of economy of managing the home in terms of finance. Does it bear all the home expenses? Now, this question says that the number of people that responded says always, 40% say always. And then the other number between often is 34%, sometimes it's 16%. That's a combined 51% as compared to the 40% who say that always. So brothers need to work on that so that we will not end up passing our responsibilities to the wives. Do you bear home expenses on 50-50 basis? The higher people, percentage, 74.7 said no. So I will just let it slide. Do you bear almost all the home expenses? No. So that's already, does he give pocket money? How often does your husband give you, okay, take this to buy? So that one now, we have 13% that says always, which is very, very low. We have 11.1% that says often, and we have 15.5% who said never. He has never given he has never given pocket money. That's not very good. So we want the guests to note this point. And then sometimes we have 37% who said that. But we need advice on this. Then as regards our pocket money, we now ask how often, how frequent is it? So some said 13% said about the same figure that said never in the previous question. The same figure said same thing here now. So we should also note how frequent this one is. So I'll move on again. How often does he lament when he bears home expenses? It is one thing to give willingly. It is another thing for you to complain after so many arguments. So we have people who said rarely. How often does he lament? That means he rarely laments. We have 37%. We have never lament. We have 24%. And we have sometimes, they lament sometimes. So that's 22.3%. How does he appreciate your contribution? So the higher percent, we have 18.9, we have 14.9, and we have 13. That's between 5 to 10. So how often do you support, we're asking the wife, how often do you support your husband? A large number of them, as about 45.9 said they always support. So we let that go, which is good. Were you willing or forced? 96.3 of them said they were willing. But that small fraction about being forced is also something we will need advice on how to, because some of these people who are in that category, they are like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a bubble in that kind of marriage before the whole thing will burst into something else. So as much as we can really take care of this, we can have a peaceful home. Do you think your husband is stingy? A gross number of them, 70% said no. How frequent do you have? That's intimacy now. How often do you have population? 50% say often. 12.2 said always. 33.8. This may also speak in tune with the previous questions about the age range. So we may want to assume that a lot of people who said always may be among the younger ones as compared to the older ones. How often do you benefit from such experience? So we have a very small that said never, and then even smaller ones said, but most of them, 31.8% said sometimes they enjoy it. 41.9 said often. So we expect that the standard should be the always, so that you can benefit from what you are doing. Both should have to enjoy what they are doing. So we expect that figure, which is currently at 17.2%, henceforth to be far higher than that. How often do you make advances at him? 47.3, or let me just let everybody go through this. We just count through, so at least I can, because I realize I'm taking too long. But 47.3 said sometimes they make advances, but never. They are very, very small figure said so, and 20% said rarely. They rarely make advances. Then, okay, do you have copulation when you want to have a baby? 73% said no, that is never. It wasn't for that only. So we will let that pass. How often is your husband at home? The highest number we have here is 14%, which means the hadith of Prophet about helping wives, and the Prophet used to go to wife and help his wife and do stuff like that. There's something we need to encourage our brothers to do. Score is performing with the kids' homework. The highest percent we have here is 16, which is 5, that's average. So we need brothers to assist. Yes, the time is not there, but we still need to create that time. How often does he hold family meeting to mentor the kids? Always is very, very low. Often is in the 22.6%, never 11.1%. The people from this home of people, that 11.1%, they may eventually cause trouble for us if they are not properly mentored by their father. How often does your wife take your help at home for granted? Never. 48.3 said never. 30.7 said rarely. So the last question, I think, is who attend PTA or visiting open day in schools? So we said husband, wife, any of them. So we have any of them that are free is 40.1%. Then we have 50.5% as wife. Well, that means it's solo, and we have a very tiny number of husbands that goes for that kind of event. And we even have a smaller one that says any of them that are available. Rate your husband input during your school runs in the morning. Does he just stay in the room, or he just goes out and the wives have to worry about how the kids get to school and all that? So the percentage is what we have up. And then how often does a husband helps at home? That's also the highest we have in that is 12.8%, which is 30. That's at a very lower this thing. So now this is the section for the husband. Everything I've said so far is a response from the wife. I don't know whether I should actually take a break now so that we can move on to that response while we focus on husband afterwards. Elder, let me pass it back to you so that you can, this won't sound boring eventually.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair. I'm sure a person like Dr. OGUNMUYIWA will be interested in our data. We can always get across to him. He has identified some issues in the data. So the panelists are expected to give us their own those things. For instance, where weight has effects on. Maybe I should start with Prof, since he's from outside this country. Prof, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
The connection was poor for some of the time, so I really didn't get clear where you want me to comment on regarding the data. Which is
said the relationship with the in-laws.
Relationship with in-laws. Yeah,
yes,
this is one of the most interesting and challenging issues with marriage. And the truth of it is that there is a peculiarity to it in our African setting, but it's actually an issue all over the world. My take on this is that when we do marry, part of what Professor Hassan had called our attention to is that we should look also at where we are marrying from, as the brothers have mentioned. I think it's one of the things that Dr. Sulaiman and Dr. Ismail had mentioned. So if you are not creating a spirit of joining, if you don't feel like you want to join the family from which your spouse is from, then you have to think twice of marrying him or her. That is actually the starting point for me. You need to be aware that once you marry her, it's not me and my wife or me and my husband. It's me and the larger family which I am becoming a daughter of or a son of, as we call it in English, daughter-in-law, son-in-law. And one of the ways, especially the husband, I think, but it's also the case with the wife, it's no different really, that we can demonstrate love for our spouse is to show that we value their siblings and their parents. It's a very important thing. I think you will not go wrong when we demonstrate such love, as it were, within proper bounds and the limits of our resources. And we should not take this to mean only spending money, but also spending time, knowing about and showing interest in their development. It's sometimes the case though, and we must face that reality, that even the siblings may have issues amongst themselves, and this impacts. It's a very difficult area to navigate. It also impacts on even the ability of you, who is an in-law, on how you are going to participate in their affairs or contribute positively to their lives. But the key thing I wanted to say is that we should view such participation as a way of demonstrating our love for our spouse, whether it is the husband that is involved or the wife. It is really a challenging thing, but this is where we will benefit from what the Professor Salam said, that we are better off living in society among people, relating with them, bearing with them in their faults, the harm sometimes they will bring to us, than to go and live as a hermit, where you don't want to be seen as making any mistake or committing any sin. The reality is that we have a larger family and we should be willing. What has happened though is that because of certain cultural beliefs and attitudes and practices, the effort, especially, and we must be really frank here, the effort of the wife to participate in the life of the extended family is not properly harnessed because of certain attitude, cultural attitude, where we see the wife we see women as people to be exploited, people to be taken advantage of, and who don't have agency or control. And all of those things. Those cultural practices impede a lot. And Generation X, we have a big job on our hands to, on one hand, protect our spouses, and on the other hand, to protect our spouses from our family when they try to exploit them, and on the other hand, to maintain good relationship with our family, our families. To be honest, when you look at it critically, the problem is not typically with the men participating in the lives of the extended or of the in-laws. It is usually the women, and mainly because of our cultural attitudes and cultural beliefs that need to be changed. So we need to change that to Islamic perspective of being good to all, rather than subjugating women as a cultural thing. Then we hide under Islam. So I think that there's a lot to be unpacked there that is responsible for some of the challenges, as it were. And for me, a good deal of it is cultural. But overall, whether it's the male or the female, the husband or the wife, we need to take the larger family as part of what we are taking on board when we get married. Allah knows best.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair.
Can I quickly add my voice?
You will take it with this modification as well. A case where the children want to go on holidays with the in-laws under parenting now. So you can take the two, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so very much. I want to just make this my last comment because I need to leave the house now. I want to make this general comment from the survey. My very good brother here, Abdul, spoke my mind. I was just telling my wife that this research, we can do a lot of things with this research that the MSF has done. And since you have openly, mentioned that you are willing to give me this data, I wouldn't mind to even pay a token to hold it. I'm happy that the newly wedded people participated well, and this confirmed my practice on the field, that the awareness on how to make marriages better, seeking assistance, trying to participate in outdoor program, is more this generation that Prof referred to as Generation Z are more interested in doing that. Apart from technology, they're also interested in making their marriages better. So they are willing to seek counseling. So that research, that data that we have given to us is a confirmation of this. Again, it is also confirmed, this data has also confirmed that women do a lot of work. They struggle more to make the marriage work. They do a lot of efforts to seek assistance. And that is why we have higher number of women participating in the survey. Okay, so I want to further say that there's a need for us to give quality time. And this survey has shown that we really need it. I must tell you, we are making a lot of efforts to build the society. But sincerely, we are not doing enough to build our homes. The principle I understand of the work is that you build the home, you build the community, then you build the society. But now we are out building the society and we are not building our home. So let's spend time. In fact, I always try to tell brothers that take a weekend out of the 4 or 5 weekends that you have in a month and devote it to your family. On Saturday or on Sunday, take your wife out, take your children out, and do this monthly basis. We cannot afford to build the society and not build our homes. And part of the way you can build your home is to allow them to have quality time together with them. Okay, so as regards the in-laws, Prof has said it beautifully, and I don't think I should add anything, but to emphasize that every in-law, they have good intention towards your family. This is where we always get it wrong. We complain about our in-laws because we think they are overdoing things, but mind you, they have good intention. What you need to do is to learn how to emotionally, intelligently relate with them. If you learn good emotional skills, emotional intelligence skills, you won't have problems with your in-laws. There is no in-law that is bad. Mind you, your wife or your husband came from that family. He is part of them. So you have to look at their intention. Have good intention, use your emotional intelligence to relate with them, and I'm sure you'll get very good results. Finally, before I come to your question, is the issue of sex. Now, sex is something that must be regular. We have to say this. You don't go on holiday when it comes to sex. Sex is like food in the house. Even though you don't take it 3 times a day, There's a minimum that you need to do even on weekly basis for you to have a healthy family. And if it is not regular, then definitely somebody may be suffering in that marriage. But if it is okay by the two of you that you only have sex once in a month and the two of you are cool with it, that's fine. Again, if it is cool with the two of you to have sex every day, that's fine. But my point is, look at yourselves and make sex to be regular in your life. It is something that has to be regular in marriage. Finally, is a question that has been asked about children going on holiday with in-laws. My question is, yes, they have to. One of the things that makes our parents happy is that they see their grandchildren coming to them. If you deny your children to go into their grandmothers or grandfathers, you are punishing those grandparents. Now, if there are issues you need to take care of at their own end, please take care of it and allow your children to relate with their grandpas and grandmothers. Remember, one day you also become a grandfather or a grandmother, and your life will be so lonely that you will only be looking forward to your grandchildren coming around to play with you. And you know, because there are two different generations, you can't have it perfect. You can't be, your home can't be like the home of your grandparents. There will be slight differences. These are the things you need to just find a way to go around so that you can allow your children to be able to make reference to the time they spend with their grandparents. One of the things I look forward to is to see my grandparents and let them learn a lot from me. I thank you so very much, the panelists and all members, for allowing me to be on this call. But unfortunately, I have to go now. I wouldn't be able to wait to the end of the event. Please forgive me. My Ustadh and my Prof, please excuse me.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Your contribution are very. Yeah, I would like to say one or two things as well.
Dr. Busayri.
Okay, thank you.
You can go ahead, sir.
One is on the issue of let me start with the in-laws. I want to emphasize as well that the role of in-laws in enduring marriage cannot be overemphasized. That is why the Prophet ﷺ advised the would-be couple to choose carefully. One of the criteria is from which home, who are the parents of your spouse. It's very, very important. If you marry from I don't believe there are no bad parents. There are bad parents, some bad in-laws that will influence their children negatively. So that is why it's very essential we look before we leap. So Yoruba will say, so that's a very important. Then when we look as well in Surah Al-Furqan, Surah 25 verse 54, where Allah says, وَجَعَلَكُمْ نَسَبًا وَصِهْرًا, and we made you into family and in-laws. So Quran recognizes the position of the in-law. So, and we have to take our in-laws as our parents. You wife, your mother-in-law, father-in-law, like whenever you marry, like I usually counsel people, it's like you have two parents now, that of your wife and that of yourself. So you treat them equally, even if not equally, but you must not forget, part of loving your wife is loving his parents. Part of respecting your husband is respecting the parents. And especially the wives, they have more role to play because they are the one that come to this family now. So maybe at times their mother-in-law, father-in-law, they are very close to the home than otherwise. So the wife, they have more role, like emotional intelligence, as Dr. OGUNMUYIWA said. They have to be emotionally be careful in relating to the in-laws. Very, very important. Other aspect I would like to add is the aspect of giving pocket money to our wives. Yes, It is Islamic and in fact it's Quranic. When we check Quran chapter 2, verse 233, Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. That the father, who is the head of the family, is responsible for their provisions. Allah did not say their food, not only food, but provision. And that is very comprehensive, which include, of course, other things apart from food, drinks, confectionaries, sweet, biscuit, having very many things that they will need. Either they request it or they don't request. Don't only stock your kitchen. You have to stock your fridge too with whatever your wife has. Bil ma'ruf, yeah, as much as you are able within the limit of your financial capability. And as well, we should not lament. It's un-Islamic to give your wife their upkeep allowances and now lamenting. As if we look in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 262, Surah Al-Baqarah from like verse 230 downwards treat the issue of family, wife-husband relation in very much detail. Then Allah says, when you give that, not to give is even better than you giving and now lamenting. La tubutilu, don't spoil your charity or your giving bil manni wal other with lamentation and hurtful comment. So it's un-Islamic to lament. If you are now lamenting, what is Allah going to do that gives you everything without you paying back anything? Gives you all that you need. Things that are priceless, Allah gave it to you. So we should not be lamenting while giving to our spouse. Yeah, I think for now, and then the issue of family meeting is very, very important. Yeah, it's very important. Like Doctor emphasized, we have 11.1% say never, 21 say really. That is about 32%. So, and Quran says, "Wa amruhum shura bainahum." The affairs of a Muslim family and Muslim community usually determined through mutual consultation. And mutual consultation is, and these affairs is everything from breastfeeding, from when to take in, from how to where to take child for education, where they are going to spend their holiday, as we have talked, what to cook, and everything. So it's through mutual consultation. We should have frequent consultation with our spouse for a successful and enduring marriage. Thank you.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan. So, Sashiko.
No, I think Professor Hakeem Yusuf is raising his hand. I don't know if he has something to add to it.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I do. I also adopt all the views that Dr. Ismail and Dr. Sulaiman have said. I just wanted to add one or two things. I think the totality of this survey points out 1, 2, 3 things. I will talk about the most positive first. The most positive is that the husbands, not surprisingly, recognize that they are supposed to be the breadwinners, and our wives really are appreciative of that. And this, I think, is something that cannot be overemphasized. So that's a very positive thing. Where issues of home finances come up, for the most part, what we have is a brilliant picture. But the area that is coming through that needs a reworking or better efforts, like Dr. Sulaiman said, are areas around how our culture, Generation X especially, what we have in our culture and how that has impacted on us. Good enough is changing. It is that men just are fathers for many, just treated the home as somewhere where they just make the provisions and that's all. They just provide and that's their duty. But if that was something that was okay during their time, first, as our panelists have demonstrated, it is not okay in Islam. But even if that is not uppermost in our mind as it should be, it is not at all okay in the era of Generation Z's lives. Our children, our spouses, and our children, they need us. Sometimes they need us just in person, much more than they need our money. In fact, a lot of times, we are creating dysfunctional children. And that is something that is intergenerational and has to change. We are creating children who do not have enough time with their fathers, even if they had some time with their mothers. The economic challenges, of course, has meant more men and more women are working these days. But still, we still have to give credit to our women that they are still largely there to play their role. But we assume that the men don't have much of a role in the home in upbringing the children. If that was the case, Allah would just have made the women deliver the babies without the intervention, physical intervention of the men. So we need to recognize that not even just the boys, but the girls, they need their fathers. And if we are not there to support their emotional intelligence, Brother Sulaiman's point cannot be overemphasized. We seem to have imbibed an attitude of we want to change the world. We can't change the world as such. We are not prophets. Let's be realistic. You will do a lot of good. We will do a lot of good if we are able to model our family, mold our family, mold our own children the way we want the people of the world to be. And we won't be able to do that if we are not there. So we need to really be with them. There were some questions that were asked in relation to how do you draw the lines and all of those things. And when the children now start to want to have friends, the father must be a friend of the child. In fact, it is exactly the pressing issue here, especially if you're in diaspora, where you have to be the father, you have to be the brother, you have to be the friend, you have to be the mentor, you have to be everything. The wife has to be that too. Your children, when they are playing, you have to be there. It's an extreme thing compared to our society, but our society is also extreme in another way, in the hands-off way, where most of our children, we don't know how they really grow up. But if we are there as their friend, like Dr. Sulaiman said, you are there to play with them, you are there to joke with them. The Prophet had time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not just for his own children, but also his grandchildren. Not just for his grandchildren, but even children in the community. So, but if all we are able to achieve, look at it, for instance, if 300 of us, or 300 families, or prospective families that are on this platform today produce model children as much as we can as human beings, think of the effect it will have and the multiplier effect it will have. So there is no point really in doing the dawah all year round and not doing that dawah with your children. Observe Salat with them, pray with them, play with them, a lot of play with them so that you model their thinking, shape their thoughts, read the books they are reading. Let them come and read with you. Go and read to them to sleep in the night. Go and read with them. Go and play with them. You will then be able to be their friend when they are young, and they will keep you, even when they are looking out, they'll keep you in their loop of friends. When they come home from school, what happened today in class? How many of us, especially in the era where we also believe that we can farm out the upbringing of our children, they come from school, they go to after lesson or whatever we call it. From there, they go to madrasa. From there, they go to extra lesson. From there, they go to bed on Saturday, on Sunday, during the holidays. This will not augur well. Nobody, Allah will not ask the teacher about your child. It will ask you about your child. We need for the fathers, especially, I keep repeating, to not see their role as just bread winners. The bread is useless sometimes when we are not watching how the bread is being eaten and what the bread is producing. So we really need, as fathers, that's the negative thing that is still needing a lot of work here. We need, as fathers, to be in the lives of our spouses, in the lives of the family. We need to do basic things in the house. Let it be the case that we are like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who helps his family with the house chores. And that way the boys will know it's not something only for the girls, as it were. And also the girls will have a role model of what a husband should be from their fathers, and what a wife should be from their mothers. This is extremely important in an age of the explosion of technology, where there are too many teachers who are there with your kid inside your home, where you'll be horrified if you know what they have been up to. It should not be like that. So this is the major thing I wanted to contribute, namely that the fathers need to be in the lives of not just their spouses, but also the children, so that you continue to be their friend. They will tell you what is going on in school. Naturally, they will tell you what problem, like Dr. Ismail said, or is it Dr. Sulaiman, that they will feel, oh, since mommy is asking now, this is the time to tell mommy. There should be no inhibitions between you. There should be none, no barriers. You should be their best trusted friend. Kiss them, hug them, hold them, not on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, not even on a daily basis, sometimes on occasional basis during the day, as it were. Emphasize their good, wherever they do little good things, reinforce that. That's good. Oh, you read your surah. Oh, you put on your hijab. That is very good. Oh, you prayed salat very well. You lead us. Call to prayer. But it is not just about calling to prayer or reading your salat. But, oh, you have to sweep the floor. That is very good. Aja wants to contribute. She's here now.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm so sorry. Came late due to unforeseen circumstances. Can I join the other speakers in saying Jazakallah khairan for inviting us to the program, and also may Allah reward you or the organizers of this program abundantly. May weigh heavily in your scale of good deeds on the day of Yom Kippur, inshallah. Just as I've really missed the most part of the program, but I'm just going to, I've had a number of things I would like to speak of when I get to know about the program. And according to what the little I'm able to catch up on, I'd like to make my contribution by saying that we all understand from what the other speakers have said and what we do know by experience that parenting is a big task that involves a lot of roles. And you can either be the parents of the children you're raising, or you are just playing a parental role in the child of other children. Either way, we have a lot to give, and we do need to be, like they have said, very conscious of the way we do act these roles, because our children look at us and they actually learn more by what they see us doing, like people have said, than what we actually sit them down to teach. I would like to go from the angle of actually, being very practical, because we have grown-up kids and we have raised them from when they were still very young up until this stage. So what I would normally do with my kids, I made conscious effort to make sure that I spend a lot of time with my kids, regardless of the situation. Because I understand the fact that in this day and time, most parents are out there working. So myself and my husband, we made a decision that you do more of the working, I do more of the staying at home. That has really gone a long way to help us in raising our kids, especially in this part of the world where the kids, according to the government, have more rights than the parents. So when you're not being careful, when you're in this part of the world and you're not being careful, you don't, spare enough time to be with your kids. It can go either way. But I would like to talk about some of the mistakes we make in parenting. From my own experience and looking at where we grew up, I want to say that we don't show enough love to our kids. And we don't say to them enough how much we love them. And according to my experience, growing up in the Yoruba household, where most kids are not heard, they are just seen. So all your parents need you to do is, do the house chores, make sure you study, go to school and everything. I can categorically say that I can count the number of times my parents say to me that they love me. I know they love me. They do ask that they love me. Have I heard it from them? Not so often. So I think we need to work more on this. We need to tell our kids we love them. We show them affection and we actually say it to them. Also, I want us to, we need to encourage our child to do new things. And when you spend time with them, that is when you can know their potentials, what they are able to do, what they can achieve. We can't emphasize enough the fact that we need to spend more time with our kids. Time is the major contributory factor. When the father is out all day, the mother is out all day, you have to understand that somebody is there at that time looking after your child. What is that person teaching them? What environment are they in? What are they up to? What are they doing? If you are not there, somebody will be there. Also, we need to acknowledge our feelings with our children. It's okay when we are sad to let our kids know that we are sad. It's okay when we are not happy to let them know. It's okay when we are happy to let them know. This is all part of raising them. It's all part of letting them understand the fact that life is not all about positive things. All negativities also come as well. How do they react? How do they respond? What are they to do at that time? Also, one other point I would like to mention, this has been on my mind for a long time. We should not compare kids to our children to other people's children. All kids are unique in their own way, and they all have their individual potentials. If my child is not doing something right or they're not performing so well at school, I don't have to compare. Can you see the child of Lagos and Lagbaja? This is the way we have been raised. This is especially when it comes to academics. All kids are unique. They have their own potentials. We should acknowledge that, and we need to understand and let them know and reassure them. Also, we should understand that we cannot, set too high a standard for our children. They are still growing, they are still learning, they will make mistakes along the line. When they make mistakes, it's our duty to correct them, not to rebuke them or to send them over and tell them all the bad things that we notice about them. It's not the right way of raising kids. It's going to kill their morale, and it diminishes their, the self-confidence. So it's important for us to understand that we should praise our kids a lot, tell them how good they are, the things, we pay more attention on the good things they do in order to help them, boost their self-confidence.
Okay, so that's us. I just wanted to contribute what she will have done at the beginning of the program, and not just specifically on the issue of the survey, as it were.
Okay. There is one other burning question. Mr. Shukro. Ma'am?
Yeah. No?
There's a burning question. There's even a burning question all of them need to answer. But I want to find out, is Mrs. OGUNMUYIWA still available? Mrs. OGUNMUYIWA. Okay. There's a question that has recurred among the audience. It has to do with some of the children engaging in drugs, Yahoo Plus, cultism. Now, as parents, maybe one has confirmed that the child has fallen into one of these groups. How best can one manage such a child? So I think all the panelists will have to be involved in this as well.
maybe Dr. Busayri wants to go first because I think we have spoken a lot. We are ready to take the
Because we're
personal time.
having some of our children, we're having cases of, our children being involved in drugs, being involved in Yahoo Plus, internet scam, and the like. So, as a
Cultism.
parent, what can one do when one notices that your beloved is involved in this kind of vices?
I think this has to do, this question now links our topic to the theme of the IVC, which is the real world order, that the world is changing, which we have to acknowledge. Like Professor Abdul Hakeem said, between the X generation and the Z generation. So our children are prone to a lot of evils in the society, which Allah stated in Surah Al-Rum 30:41, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر, that mischiefs and evil, corruption permeate the land and the sea as a result of the handiwork of men. So we are living this reality now, whereby children of Muslim or maybe even of Duat are involved in drugs, in cultism, in Yahoo, and all this internet fraud. So maybe that could be a trial from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is if the parents are very responsive and responsible. They are responsive to their duties. But very many times, that is a result, like Allah said, Bima kasabat nas, what the hand of men had earned. Many a times, many often than not, it is a result of careless parenting or parents not alive to their responsibility. We yield the addict children or internet fraudster among the children. So the parent will have to, like Prof said, learn all this new technology, to know much about it, and let our children know the do's and don'ts. Even as a community, we like MSS, hence we should organize a seminar on how best to deal with the social media, to train our youth and our members on the no-go areas where you can slip into hellfire or even into jail through these modern means. So we have to educate our youth continually, and we have to complement the role of the parent, because many parents, they are like BBC, born before computer. They know less or little about all these modern tools. So as a community, Muslim community, so we have to help the home to complement their roles by tutoring the young ones, our members, especially from the secondary school or even from primary school, on how best to use all this modern tool and the evil of the drug. The Quran said, إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء بالخمر والميسر. That Satan wants to put enmity and conflict between you through the means of alcohol and gambling. And the internet now, one of the evil means is gambling on the internet, and there are many schemes and this and that, policy schemes. So I think we need to do that. Then the final thing is to be prayerful. To be prayerful. Prayer is very essential. Like the Prophet said, it's the sword of the Muslims. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. Oh Allah, bless us with the wives and children that will be solace of comfort of our eyes. And this prayer, like it was said, has to start even before marriage. Intentional parent, where we are thinking of marrying, So in part of it is istikhara. Then when you want to like have conjugal intimate relationship, you pray again. When you give birth to the child, like Maryam, inni samaituha Maryam wa inni u'iduha bika wa dhurriyyataha min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. You pray again. And every time before they sleep, before when they are going out in the morning, you pray Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah. You teach them, then you pray for them as well. So all these are very essential. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save our family and our children from involving in this kind of thing. And in case any of Muslim children become an addict, the best way to do is through the rehabilitation, not abandoning them to the society, to treat them the way they are. So but we have to still be alive to our responsibility as parents. We have to take responsibility, pray for them, take them to rehabilitation center, counseling them ourselves, maybe, and then these are very, very essential. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save our family from destruction.
Jazakumullahu khairan, sir. So anything for Prof, anything, sir?
Yes, indeed. Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Ismail. I just want to add, you have said most of what I wanted to say. I identify with all of that. I just wanted to add something, and it is that, you know, when we talk about Islamic law and Islamic society and being Muslims, sometimes there is something we need to understand, and it is that we almost think that once we are Muslims and we bring, we believe we create an Islamic home in quote, that something, a paradise will be created on earth for us. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's not exactly true. It's a reality that it's not everything that will get perfectly. So what I wanted to say is part of the challenges of life that things may not work out, despite if children turn out to be cultists, Muslim children from Muslim homes where their parents are practicing. First, if their parents are practicing Islam and are being the friends of the kids as they should be, this reduces the possibility of such occurring. But let's assume they have done what they should do and it still occurs. Well, we should remember first and foremost that Allah says in the Quran, Innama amwalukum wa awladukum fitna wallahu indahu ajrun azim. Having children is a beautiful thing. It's one of the best things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created as a source of joy and benefit for human beings. But it is also the case that with everything beautiful, everything good in our estimation, there is also evil that is immediately attached to it as a possibility. So we should first face the reality that, well, this has happened. We should check, did we do what we needed to do? Sometimes we have to be honest. Maybe we have been failing, usually because fathers have been breadwinners. That should help us. It should help us to do what Dr. Ismail said. It's happened, we should look for the solution. And as Ajia Karimat said earlier, don't condemn the children to hell. Allah has not condemned them to hell because of even worse things. Ya ibadi alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim la taqnatu min rahmatillah. Allah said, look, let them know, and you yourself should know that they are falling into this error does not mean they cannot get the rahmah of Allah. This is the thing, and we should be there to support them. By the way, when Allah says it is your children are a trial to you, we should remember, and I'm not saying that this is an excuse, but we have to be in the right psychological position and right attitude in order to be able to help them. We should remember, Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, his son led the unbelievers to say, I'm not going to join you in the his first son, I'm not going to join you in the canoe. Okay? So we have the fact that sometimes the wife can be the fitna, the husband can be the fitna, the child can be the fitna. So take it as part of your test from Allah and go back to it as something that we need to look for where we have made mistakes, and we need to support the children with love, a lot of love and understanding. Usually when children do that, half of the time it is because there is a vacuum in the house or the house itself is toxic. We don't expect that our Muslim families will, those on this platform will be cultists. So it's not likely they found it in the home. But sometimes they find a toxic atmosphere, an atmosphere of imposition, an atmosphere of authoritarianism, an atmosphere of violence, an atmosphere of lack of consideration, an atmosphere of wanting to control. These are elements of what people who take to cultism do. Even though you may not be a cultist, you are acting like them in the house, and the child grows up in that way and then unleashes violence on society. So some of the time we need to be inward looking to see. If that is not the case, sometimes it's just simply because we've led them to their own devices. We have made them become friends with those we don't know. You must know the friends of your children. You must even encourage them to bring them home. You must be the friends of their children too. When they call them and talk, say, I want to say hello to them. Bamikio, how are you? Salam alaikum. If you do that, you will bring the children close so that when they finish their discussion, she will come and tell you, he will come and tell you, do you know this is what so is telling me? So you will know the friends, and you'll be able to know how to encourage them to either continue to be friends with that person or to move away from that person. Those are the things. The other one is, because we are not close enough to them, it is not all of these children that fall into being, especially the cultist one. I had an experience of a family member who, a relation, who was saved from the cultists in a university in Lagos State. I will not name the university, because they imposed themselves on him. They threatened him. He had a big stature, and they said, you must join us. They kept threatening him. There was a bright student. They kept threatening him. And the only option was that because he told his parents, they had to actually take him out of the country. But if he was distant from his parents, if he couldn't feel confident to tell his mom or his dad, he probably would be dead by now, or he will have joined them and be one of those unleashing violence on the community. So a lot goes back to connecting with the children. Let us know why. Is it because the father is stingy? Why are you into this? And you must genuinely remove rage and anger and initial disappointment from it, and then know that it is your duty, and a lot of care, a lot of love, a lot of patience, a lot of prayers, as it were, will bring them, inshallah, over it and above it. I don't know if you want to say anything on that. No. Okay. So I just says that's it from us.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair, sir. Sister Shukwa, I think at this juncture, we would need to just appreciate our panelists and draw the curtain, because the organizers are already giving us signals that the Kahoot should be the next thing in the lineup of activities. So you want to assist in appreciating our panelists, ma'am. Ajay Shukro. Okay. I think I on. Oh, alaikum salam. Okay. Shukro, continue.
Now, should I go on to another question? Or
no, we will need to stop the question and answer session at this juncture so that the next activity can take place.
Okay.
The organizers have sent us a message that we need to wrap up now.
Obviously, the questions are still there, but I'm sure the
Sure.
organization will have a forum to address some of those questions, and can even be answered online since it's we are using the social media platform. So just help us. Okay, Mr. Adigun, over to you.
Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for His mercies that we conceived and were able to implement. We appreciate our guests from from Professor Hakeem and the wife. The same with Dr. Sulaiman and Dr. Ismail Busayri. Jazakumullah khairan for granting our call. As much as possible, the topic we've discussed and the surveys we've done, they are something like inconclusive because there are quite a lot of things we really will wish to talk about. But we will find a way to create a platform where this thing can be continuous, so to say, so that it won't have to be a one-off thing once in a year. Because apart from the seminar we had last year, there hasn't been anything up to now. So we're hopeful that in the near future, we will have a forum where we can invite any of you and more of people like that so that we can have a better benefit. And then we also thank the unit executive for granting this opportunity so that we can have this forum. Next year, the people who are, some of our brothers who are single have clamored out. Anytime we have events like the couple seminar, they want to have their own single so that they can also plan ahead for most of the discussion we've had today. So we hope we will be able to put that into plan. May Allah accept all our acts of ibadah, our strivings. Jazakumullah khairan to the committee members who are able to come up with all these focus and idea. May Allah make it beneficial for us. Jazakumullah khairan to all the guests. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan al-jaza. We wish you even more productive time at the program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah,
Dr.
appreciate you
Busayri.
as well. Wish Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from you and to make you like فتية آمنوا بربهم زدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think we can hand over back to the moderators of the camp itself. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. Okay. Now I welcome us to this CAUT section. I can see that a lot of people have at least we have entered. Just unfortunate that I can still see some names here, like Arike, Adex, Ores, Cas, Enough Law, and so on like that. Please ensure you change your name to your phone number. Change your nickname. Let your phone number be your nickname. Your phone number is your nickname, please. So the likes of Arike, Adex, Ores, and so on. Please, you have just a few seconds to do that. Few seconds to do that. Adex and Co. Okay, Ale and Co. So change your name. Let your nickname be your phone number. Your nickname as your phone number. Okay, it's like Abus that are here today, they are not interested in CAUT. It has shown that it is the singles that have been participating well in the CAUT. Okay, because if you can have over 200 participants on the platform, and we have just 43. In fact, I expect us to have double now. 236 times 2. Okay. So yes, we still have Nura. Nura, please, can you change your name to your phone number? So do that. So if you don't know how to do that, you can just go back and log in again. So we have just in the next 1 minute, we should be starting the count questions. If you're having any challenge, you can just put it on the chat. How can we participate? Okay, somebody is asking, how can we participate? Okay, the game pin is there. The game pin is 538 8251. 538 8251. That's the game pin. To participate, just enter, go to your browser and type www.kahoot.it. www.kahoot.it, and it will ask of the game pin. The game pin is 538 8251. 538 8251. And it will also ask of your nickname. So for the nickname, you can put your phone number. You put your phone number, not your nickname. We don't want any name. Phone number is unique. You can easily identify you with your phone number. Okay.
Now, Mr. Abiano, sorry, before you start.
Okay.
Some people still have issues around them joining the game. When they join the game, they are looking at their Zoom screen and they're not able to see the questions on their phone. So please advise us to how to manage between both the Zoom app and the Zoom screen and the phone screen, because some people are looking at the shapes, they can't see the options on their app.
Okay. I think on that one, what you can do from your app, this is my own screen. You check the question from my screen here, and in your own app. So it means you should be switching between this particular screen and that Kahoot platform or the Kahoot app or the website you are using to log in. So it means you are doing two things. So some people that are very smart, we look at we have a particular device for their screen and they use another device. Okay, and they will use another device for to answer the question. So, and at the same time, when you also want to plug in your answer, you plug in the color that corresponds to the correct answer. So definitely the Kahoot will show colors. So from your own device, you will not see the actual answer. So what you will see is the color that corresponds to the answer. So I think that's enough explanation. So you can get a screen for the Kahoot and get another mobile whatsoever to answer the question. So those are just what you need to do. And I think I've also seen a situation where the Kahoot will also display the question on your device. So that's why I don't want to have a position on what you should do, whether to switch between. But the best thing is, if your own is not doing it like that, get a screen, or you'll be switching between two things: the Zoom platform and the Kahoot platform. All right, I think we can start now. The game pin is 538 8251. 538 8251. You can't see anything. Okay, we have said it. You can't see anything. I hope you can see my screen, Abi. I hope you can all see my screen.
They are talking about when they join the game. It's going to show you are in, obviously, as a player.
All right. So, okay, so let's go on. We have 83 participants now. So don't forget, it is the color that you see on your own screen. So you see the color, you pick the color, the color that corresponds to the correct answer.
Some people still join with their name, so
No problem. Let them. If they cannot edit that, they are well, to an extent maybe automatically disqualified. Okay, because there's no way we want to contact them with that name. All right, so let's go on. So question 1, who was the last to recite the memory lane before the start of the Muayasha? Bra Alade Muhammad, Sister Tawakai Tolajide, Bra Kuya Kebir, Ustadh Ali Abdulaziz. Wow. So for those that joined late, you may not get that right. All right, let's move on. Okay, so that's the question 2. Who coordinated or led the Muayasha this morning? Who led the Muayasha? The Ustadh. So we have Ustadh Abdul Adebisi, Ustadh Abdulaziz Ali, Ustadh Yusuf Oladejo, Ustadh Kim Yusuf. Wow, great participation. We have 75 participating there. That's great. All right. So let's always join earlier. I think that's the issue we had there. Okay, the next question. Who read the profile of the first 2 guest lecturers? So all these, we don't joke with them too. All right, great. Question 4. Prophet Luqman salam called his children to deeds except duty to Allah, duty to parents, duty to the wider society, duty to the Islam. Okay. Now, question 5. According to the first lecturer, the following are approaches to intentional parenting except okay. We need more participation. Now, the next question. International parenting is for the sake of Allah and dash. To build loving homes, to propagate humanity, to spread love, to be conscious. So intentional. Okay. All right. Okay. Intentional pays more attention to the home and the dash. Okay. Okay, hope this complex implies that. Okay. So what's the full meaning of NBS as mentioned by Alaji Aloluwa for the entrepreneurship lecture yesterday? Okay, so I think the last question. Yeah. So what's the first right of a child from his parents? Okay, Jazakumullahu khairan for the participation. Let's see the top 3. Okay, all answers 7 out of 10 questions. Okay. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll contact the winners for their respective gifts. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mr. Kuye, can you take over? Malam Said Adigun is not on ground now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, we want to first take this opportunity to appreciate all our facilitators for spending their time out to join us in today's wonderful session. We know that they are very busy people and that they've had to sacrifice bringing their families to join us on this very important day of our IVC. I must say that the couples hangouts is usually a highlight session on one of our activities at the IVC, even during the days of our fiscal IVC. Lots of people always look forward to this day and want to join this day. The same has also been experienced at our virtual IVC since we started virtual last year. We've been having a record attendance and a record participation of our members at this event. It tells us that people are interested, in making themselves better Muslim families. People are interested in ensuring that they get the best out of their marriage. We only also noted that we have more females than male who attend this event. I want to advise our husbands, our successful husbands, to please always make it a duty to be intentional about making the home work, intentional about not just making it a routine affair, be intentional about making your marital life spicy, spiritual, intentional about making your bringing of the children a priority. It's not just to go and getting the money for the family and then they have dropped the money. They should take care and sort themselves. What they need. It's much more than that. I know that our beautiful husbands, our successful husbands on this platform know better, and we should continue to encourage ourselves to do better. Pray to Allah to make it easy for us. Also, our wives, our sisters, our mothers, we continue to appreciate your commitment to making the home a peaceful place, to making the home a home of Islam. So, we know that generally, for some of the surveys already, depicted that sisters are much more interested in or show much more intentional actions in making the home a better place, in making the marriage work, in making the marriage not just a routine assignment, but interesting and beautiful. And also, are concerned majorly about raising the children. So I'm kind of charging the husbands to please do more, be present, be mindful, be committed, do all that is necessary to be done to ensure that the home is spicy. And like both couples have heard, we should be intentional about parenting our children, should be intentional about raising righteous Muslim brothers and Muslim sisters. Someone is asking me about raising single singles. You've learned as you're going into marriage, you should know that it's much more than just getting married and singing and dancing at the car. There's a whole lot of responsibility, and it's just not we should forget the days of once the husband has just provided, the wife and the children should take care of the rest. No, so going to marriage, you must be prepared. In fact, I always advise every person who's aspiring to be married. Once you're making pensions for marriage, it's always good to attend premarital counseling. It's very important. A lot of us take it for granted. Before I got married, I attended. My prospective wife then. We attended a structured marital counseling session. It's always what I advise people. Even if you're married, you can still do marital counseling. It's not because you think something is wrong. No, a lot of people think that something is wrong. Like if you plan the marital counseling, especially with the men, they always feel that there's nothing wrong. What do you mean by I need a counselor? Are you saying mental? That's what the issue. So we need to be intentional about making things work. And one of the ways of making it intentional is to attend structured counseling sessions. Without trying to advertise for Dr. OGUNMUYIWA, he handles a very interesting marital counseling institute, and is what I advise people. If you know others, you can attend others. As I know for MSc, I advise people to find time to do this, find time to make your marriage better than it is, find time to make parenting interesting. I pray to Allah to continue to ease our affairs. We know that this is an ibadah. It's not just the things of the world. It's an ibadah that Allah has given lots of priority. So we should do the same. The way we are intentional about learning Arabic, or intentional about learning the Quran, becoming an Hafiz, a Hafizah, becoming a Faqih, we should be intentional about becoming a successful parent as well. Pray to Allah to continue to make it easy for us and then ease our affairs. I think this is the point where we draw the curtain for this morning's session. Let's not forget that we'll be meeting again in the evening for the Sisters' Day. Sisters' Day will start by 4:30 p.m. Yes, I think I'm right, 4:30 p.m. And it's going to be a day with Sadia. We anchored by the speakers to be Ajia Samia Tomotunde Pada, who is a member of the Institute of Public Administrators in Nigeria, and Ajia Sophia Abdul, who is a journalist and the CEO of Between the Pages. So sisters, I enjoy you to please attend the session. Brothers, you're not invited. I understand that some singles enjoying this session, that's forgivable, but this will not be forgivable if brothers join the Sisters' Day, please. It's strictly a sisters' affair. Brothers at your area councils, you can hang out, you can play football in the evening, or do some physical activities that we think will fit that time. And also tonight, we resumed the day 2 of our fundraising session towards the HCDC. Yesterday, we were able to raise 127,500. Not a good start, not a bad start, but we are aiming for millions. So inshallah, today we want to enter into the million fold. Last time we even had 2 area councils, or 3 thereabouts, themselves entering millions. So we want to ensure that we get there this year again. The Amir is going to address us in the evening to give us state of affairs of HCDC. How was it when we left in 2019? How is it now? The funds we have generated last time, what's the situation of those funds? Of course, I'm sure you trust that the funds are usually utilized. The Amir will address us during the night session by 8:30. Come one, come all. Let's try to be at that event, and let's try to mobilize people to come and support this donation. Yesterday, of course, always representing Surulere Area Council took the lead, strictly followed by Tuekate Area Council, and a number of other councils too were in attendance, and they dropped their donation. Okay. So someone just sent the table. Surulere Area Council donated 45K yesterday. Tuekate donated 42, second place. In third place was Igondo Equatorial Council with 19,000. In fourth place is Busayri with 15,000. In fifth place, was the fifth. Can't see that, but I can see in sixth place there's Ijigbo Area Council. Okay, yeah, there's a tie. That's why it's both six. Ijigbo and Barrick Area Council, they're both in fifth position. And then we have Agbo Ipaja in seventh position. It's 4,000. Agbado Credo 1,000. And then other area units 1,000. So let's come one, come four. We see that we have not done so much. We need to do more. So may Allah make it easy for each and every one. But Abdullah, I'm not doing you, don't worry. I'm just trying to encourage you to, to ensure that 2022 is intentional. May Allah make it easy for each and every one. So we'll draw the curtain here. We'll collectively say to answer. Let's not forget Saturday will happen by 4:30, and then the donation session will come by 8:30. But Abdullah, I want to see you at that donation session. Come and represent medical doctors if people have money. I learned that they've increased the hazard allowance. So if you come and drop the money for Allah, may Allah make it easy for each and every one of us. Let's collectively say that and answer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Al-Answer inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته